Recording live from count 'em, two locations. This is Past the Rock. I'm Patrick, and as always, I'm joined by this great man, Jacob, aka Bethke.
I am present and ready to account for more than one person today.
And we'll see. We might get a Caesar sighting. We might not. We'll figure it out. No. So not the most exciting time in all of sports, but there are some good things happening here and there that are worth talking about.
This is the moment that you're testing the creativity of content.
For sure. Yeah, and if any of us actually knew anything about baseball, we'd be killing it right now. But that's
I know that there's been good. I know
there
that there's
has
been bad.
well, mostly spring training is just like pray for no injuries and move on. So, on
Right.
that note, we found out the other
But not
day.
only that note.
Not only that, no, but we did find out Adolis Garcia was pulled from one of the spring training lineups to get an MRI on his oblique.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're defining that as pretty mild, and they expect him to be ready for opening day. So that's all I'm really looking for, if I'm being totally honest with you.
Yeah, it just sucks because of we obviously, I think we are not the baseball wise guys, but I think we are close enough to watching this team on a regular basis to understand the importance of his bounce back season to the title chances.
Absolutely, but what I would say is the difference between someone missing a spring training in baseball, the difference between someone missing some training camp and preseason football is vastly different.
Sure.
There's 162 games. Obviously, they all are equal and they matter, but he's got a lot of them to come in and make his presence known.
And hopefully we have the firepower that can make him not as noticeable if the injury causes him to have any sort of slow start.
Sure, and his numbers dipped last year, and some of that is going to be on him, and then also some of that is a third of the lineup was hurt. And that affects every single spot in the order. You're getting pitched to differently when they're less concerned with the rest of the order. So,
no, yeah, I think you have to come into this season with kind of half a mind to erase what was last year, but it will that feeling won't stay down for long because the Rangers have had more seasons of bad than good, and naturally, the human reaction is to feel what you've known the most. So as a fan, I know how it's going to make me feel if these guys get out to a slow start. But I think as someone invested in the team, just emotionally, you want to see the best players stay good on the team, even if it doesn't win another title. So to potentially be faced with the mortality of one of the 1A, 1B, 1C to the importance of the title is pretty important.
Yeah, and he's an interesting one, kind of like Nelly Cruz. He popped on later in life when most guys would be entering their prime. Is kind of when he exploded. So yeah, he's 32 right now, as of Sunday last. So he's definitely not. There's not a whole lot of room for him to improve as much as we just like to see him
just stay
get close to or maintain. Yeah, and that's the thing with this whole team, this whole roster is what does the health look like? Because on paper, they should win the West.
Well,
I would almost say undoubtedly. But
no, I mean, look, we got a young jock in the building. Okay.
Yeah, we got Jock Peterson, and hopefully that's a positive.
Hopefully Jake Berger isn't the next Taco Charlton.
I'm very excited about Jake Berger. Hoping he's a little more productive than some of the other guys that we brought in for first base /DH /whatever.
We deserve to have one. I think that Prince Fielder
Napoli fielded that role very well. Probably the king of that for this franchise.
Was there a prior and after Fielder for Napoli?
Did he? I don't remember him coming back. Like,
I don't remember. I don't know if I remember that specifically either. I thought he came back.
Okay, I got you here. He did come back in 2017. You're right.
So there was but he was before and after. That's crazy because I was trying to think like where Prince would have fed in that timeline. That's hilarious.
Fielder's a tough one because that was just
right. But it
Yeah.
still hurts because, like, you know how excited I was to get Prince Fielder, and I didn't like that trade
I mean,
initially, but
this
it
is
was
not a one
still
for one, but like, Sam Bowie, maybe not Robert Traylor, Sam Bowie, Greg Oden, like guys who like these guys should be really good, and then it's just gone. Brandon Roy.
Mhm. Yeah, and the injury sucks. It was more just selfishly, there's certain typecast athletes that we all just prefer, and I think like we prefer to have someone of his typecast
One
on a
big guy.
baseball team.
One big guy.
And and Jake
Bartolo
Barker
Colon.
is perfect, man.
Bartolo Colon filled that need for a bunch of teams for a while.
Exactly. And he was a fan favorite time and time again.
Yeah, so that's our half-assed baseball
Oh,
coverage.
I can go a little more because I
Yeah,
got just a
please.
couple more. Okay.
Huh.
Emiliano Teodo.
Yeah.
This is a name I need to be familiar with, is what the cyber streets are telling me.
Yeah, I think I first saw his name last year. I'm a little behind the curve, but he was popping up in people, beat writers' tweets and stuff. Could be something.
Somebody
But
was showing me
just like with all of baseball, who effing knows?
so
You got 100 guys.
So I'll tell you the propaganda. Today there was a tweet. Somebody took his pitch count from today, I believe, maybe yesterday, and they go, "Here is your closer." I don't know who I didn't even. I'm sorry, I don't know who it was.
No, you're good.
I think it was just a populated tweet anyway.
I'm just thinking about how impossible it is to predict a closer off of spring training, which is like, you can't look at any stats in spring training.
You think this tweet was a little bit of clickbait?
Stats, yes. Stats in spring training are an absolute joke.
Yeah.
I read this Fangraphs article. I'm trying to remember which pitcher it was talking about. I think it might have been Verlander. So, spring training is either in Florida or it's in Arizona.
Uh-huh.
And whoever it was some veteran ace pitcher. It was his first time ever to do spring training in Arizona this time with whatever team he's with.
Sure.
And he's just getting lit up. And he's like, what do I need to learn? And they're like, oh, no, we're just literally as high up as the Rockies, so every ball just carries. Like, that's how this works out here.
Oh, right,
so,
right. The Arizona lift.
There's spring training's weird. Some pitchers swear by they need it. Some pitchers, who did I hear talking about this? Someone on the DLLS Rangers podcast. John Radigan, maybe? Is he on that? Does that sound right?
Yeah, I don't know if he's on that podcast, but John Radigan, I believe, is the name.
I don't remember who's on the All City DLLS, whatever.
City DLLS roster.
Rangers.
Rangers. Fuck.
They
got good people there. Jeff Wilson is their main writer, apparently.
It could have been Jeff Wilson. Someone on that podcast was talking about there are pitchers, like high-end veteran ace pitchers, who will go into spring training with a new team and be like, don't worry about what it looks like in spring.
Yeah, John Radigan. You're right.
Yeah, okay. They're like, what I look like in spring training doesn't mean anything. And it's tough because it's an entirely different environment. It's not the same thing. It's guys getting back into it. So all that to say, don't worry about the stats of spring training as much, but you are correct that Teodo's name has been out there as behind Walcott, I guess, as the next.
Yeah, and that's the last thing I wanted to talk about is just we got a little more glimpse of Walcott and it was fun.
Yeah, I don't know where,
because he's not over here bombing. It's not like we're getting obsessed with bombs in the mountain. We're getting excited about extending singles.
He's just a potential franchise cornerstone.
Yeah, no, it's like I really hope these guys pan out because this could be fun small ball between him and Wyatt. Like I would love to see Bochy's replacement truly find the joy in whatever that
in singles,
having two guys that just are athletic cheat codes when it comes to speed. They may not, who knows what they become in all the other aspects of the game. But like one thing feels very certain. Those two guys, as long as they stay healthy, are going to be able to do that. Because that's pretty hard to teach right there. That's just pure raw athleticism.
Yeah, I'm not sure because obviously he's a shortstop right now, so I'm not sure exactly where
this is future. We're talking future a little bit. We're talking we don't bail on him for a win now move kind of stuff.
Well, I don't think we're going to bail on him. We just got to figure out how to not waste time with him just hanging out in the minors when he could potentially be on the big league team. But we have Marcus Semien and Corey Seager, and I don't know where you put him at that point. But
Yeah, I do think that is going to
Obviously, a
be
problem for later.
win or lose. That is 100% the number one storyline going into next season, I think.
Fair. That's fair. And even then, he'll only be 19. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, opening day is 2 weeks from tomorrow. 3 weeks from tomorrow.
It's soon, dude.
So we've got a little more time to look over some Ranger stuff. Hope the team's healthy. But yeah, we'll definitely be covering them a little heavy because it's
a fun team.
Not a lot else to talk about, and they're maybe the second best team in DFW right now. So
yeah, no, that's really what we need to finish this on. Clip this and put this out for the Rangers fans, the few of you that exist, and any of the Mavericks fans that are currently looking for new teams. We are happy to introduce you to your Texas Rangers. Maybe you own a hat, maybe you own a jersey, whatever. We can convert that into real fandom. The Texas Rangers, they're like the Dallas Mavericks, but they're not ran by people who just got into the business. I'm not saying they're better people, but they're not new to the business. We know what we got.
And if you have
a great general manager,
you got to spare 500 hours this year to watch baseball.
Honestly, we can also teach you how to follow baseball without watching all the games. We've got you. We will help your fan experience. But most importantly, Chris Young, an incredible general manager. Should he trade any of our players, we should feel confident.
He's not GM anymore, though. He's president of baseball operations now.
He's so important that we had to give him a bigger title and a bigger bag and then hire another guy to do his bitch work. That's how good Chris Young is now.
It was just like he doesn't have time to keep up with prospects. Come on, guys.
Yeah, I mean, respect, dude. Respect. So anyway, the Texas Rangers have a bright future should the injuries allow it. I think that's fair.
Yeah,
at the same time, you also need to understand that the Dodgers might be benefiting off of a moment, and we might all have to just hope and pray.
It's interesting. Baseball is like the truest test of attrition, though. It's like you can have the best roster, but you got to win a lot of games, and then you got to go win even more a lot of games. So
I agree. I still believe this is really pushing the envelope in the way that the Durant Warriors pushed the envelope, and I don't know that this is a blip that can be repeatable.
I don't know. You look at some of those. I mean, honestly, just look at like some of the rosters the Rangers built in like 01, 02 that on paper should have been really good, but they all got hurt.
No, baseball is definitely the most guilty sport, I think, of spending
European
money
soccer.
without return.
We just don't follow it.
True. That is absolutely true. I definitely meant American.
It's
North
baseball
American.
times 100. So
yeah. Yeah. I mean, honestly, we're already seeing a lot of examples in the NBA with the way that the money has shifted.
Interestingly, if you have even just the softest cap, it becomes a lot more difficult. But yeah, that's baseball for now. We'll do a quick little check in here on your Dallas Stars. It's all good. Since coming back from the Four Nations face-off, they've won 4 of 5. Some of the most beautiful hockey I've seen in a while, especially on the power play. I know you're gonna ask, so it's looked really good. Jason Robertson's seems to have woken up. Rupe Hintz is looking incredible. As guys come back from injury, it's just you would think it would only get better. Last week I said it's impossible for us to catch the Jets, but we're only 6 points behind them. 22 games to play, so that could happen. The President's Trophy would be between
doing this without the old man.
Yeah. I mean, Tyler will be back for the playoffs. I don't think he'll be back before then officially. So,
I mean, this feels good. This has been something you've had to inform me on in multiple seasons for us to be trying to benefit off of it. I don't know if it's going to work. Part of the Dallas sports fan in me is being a naysayer, but I do hope.
Well, I mean, Jim Nill built the Red Wings dynasty, and since being in Dallas, he has taken his team from being like league controlled in bankruptcy to one of the top teams in the league. It's underreported because we live here, but Jim Nill was twice executive of the year. He's he's made this thing a juggernaut, despite
He probably
we haven't
loves the media attention,
we
even though
haven't
the team doesn't.
the fact that he doesn't have any of it. Yeah, it's probably great. I mean, our team president, Jim Lights, I think I shared this with y'all a little while ago. I just learned he's like integral into the story of sneaking Russian hockey player out of Russia to come to the USA for the first time, kind of stuff. Like we've got some roots built here, and it's all
I
looking
think
good.
that usually means a lot, but the Dallas Mavericks have recently bought into two faces that have a lot of resume, and I don't know how much they're enjoying it.
But yeah, as far as
when
the
resume
Stars
goes wrong.
the Stars currently are third in the league in points, 6 behind Winnipeg, as I mentioned, only 4 behind Washington in the East, who's also having a stellar, incredible year. Ovechkin's getting really
That's
close
crazy.
to Gretzky's goal record.
Where does he rank on their best players list? Their team this year
for Washington?
Like is he like kind of like LeBron right now, where it's like, okay, he's still badass, but he's two.
Okay, no.
Not
He's still scoring goals, but he's
oh,
not.
He's
He's
a
not
vibe
carrying.
captain.
He's not carrying as much. He
okay, so he's
stands
not
in a
quite
spot and
Scherzer.
shoots. He stands in a spot and shoots, and he's really good at that. So
Oh.
maybe like a Steph or a.
No, Steph's still busting his ass.
But I just mean in terms of like he's not. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tough one to just pop off with, but yeah, I feel
Bruce
you.
Bowen.
Yeah, I'm trying to
Robert
remember.
Horry.
I'm trying to remember
Steve
an old head that did that. I'm trying to think of an old like great player that did some role player stuff as they went out. Carmelo Anthony, low key, really, I think there was more of the team.
It's interesting because it's not even really like role player because he's still like scoring a lot. You know what I mean? Like
but at that point, well, okay, but then you have to get into the swaggy P logic of the corner man. And I can teach cornerman philosophy until the cows come home because that's one of my favorite basketball philosophies. And
it's also
cornerman's a lonely life.
It's harder to parse in hockey when you're splitting between like 12 guys instead of like 7 at a time and all that. But you know, he's still scoring a lot of goals. And they're the first place team in the East. They could potentially win the President's Trophy. The President's Trophy is what they give to the team with the most points at the end of the year. The Stars won it the year they won the Cup, but in the last, I don't think anyone's won the Stanley Cup after winning the President's Trophy since 2012 or 13. Yeah, around there.
So that's kind of the Heisman curse. Old Heisman curse. So I think that's not a good curse anymore. I think the Heisman's not.
Some of that, actually, maybe a lot of that has to do with the new playoff format, which is like, so the way it's set up right now, if the Stars and the Jets, who are first and second in the conference respectively, but also first and second in their division, they would play in round 2 if they won round 1, and that's kind of unfortunate, obviously, to have the two best teams playing in round 2 kind of thing.
And why did they find that a benefit? Is this a flaw of an old system? Or no, you said this is new.
I say new, but since the last realignment or whatever.
So maybe this.
So they have two divisions in each conference. The top 3 from each division make it, and then there are 2 wild cards between the 2 divisions, and they just have it set up where you go through the division first, and then to the conference final.
Yeah, I don't love it, but tradition's hard to change, and if they don't mind it, if there's not any good,
it's not really tradition. It's just the way it's been for like 9 years. So
that's already tradition enough to lazy people.
Not really, but yeah. I would prefer a little bit of a different system just because the Central is, at least for the better part of the last 10 years, been a way better division than the Pacific. But I don't know
it's honestly
about the East to tell you if that's the same.
It's better to have. It's always a hard argument because the NBA, I think, logically should move to 1 through 16 seedings.
See, I still like having conferences.
But yeah, no, I hear you. Or maybe even, I guess so. Yeah, 1 through 16. But
yeah, that's fair.
I am too much of a traditionalist to give up Celtics Lakers in the finals.
That's what I'm saying. I don't want cross conference. I want, especially in a sport that's built East and West, like the NBA actually and hockey kind of are.
Well,
like the NFL wasn't ever built East and West.
No.
Like it's just teams that we've over
yeah,
time.
And there's
Kinda
definitely
putting
some
spots.
fudging of the East and West, and even in the potential expansion, there's
It's
some
not as
L's,
bad in the NBA
but
and the
it's
NHL
not.
as it is in the
I,
NFL.
I think really we should
I think
just
the
argue the
NFL is actually
NFL.
the NFL East is the only really terrible division. So,
The NFL East is the funniest, but the NFL East is a
but to
testament
be
to
fair,
stubbornness.
it was only like 20 years ago we had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the NFC Central. So playing against
Then,
all the current NFC North teams.
yeah, people don't even realize Emmitt Smith went to a division rival.
Were the Cardinals an NFC
I'm pretty
West
sure
team at one point?
I'm pretty sure they were the NFC
East? They would have to be in the East.
Yeah, they were the NFC East. Yeah, they were our fifth team, and then they dipped out whenever y'all kicked Tampa Bay out. Right? Oh no, who had Tampa? Who had or
the Central?
Damn, yeah, you're gonna have to because like I remember the first Madden game or first game day I think was what I played. The first one of those I would have seen. That's how I would have remembered it. But I'm pretty sure the Cardinals were in the division with us.
I would guess it would have been the new, like when they brought in like Jacksonville when things would have gone
Houston,
around,
I think. Yeah, I think it was Houston when this happened.
The Cardinals were not. They could have still been in your division at that point. I don't know.
Let me see. Was it Tampa?
I don't even know how to Google this.
Did I just? Yeah.
They were in
until 2002.
NFC. Oh, this is division championship. Sorry,
NFC East. Yeah, 1970 to 2002. That was a long at that time. Point? Three. I think it was 3, and then they broke it into 4 each. I feel very confident that it was 3 and then broke it into 4.
Oh, sorry. All right, we'll look at the 2001 NFL standings.
Fair, yeah.
No, because this is messed up. That's not what they were called. Not that you were wrong, just that they're actually giving me false information here. They're still trying to call it. There we go. Okay. Yeah, Cardinals. Well, they don't list the Cowboys in here, which is confusing, but I know they were in the NFC East, so.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm
on NFL.com. I'm on NFL.com. They list the NFC East as the Eagles, Commanders, Giants, Cardinals. No one else. No one else was in that division that year.
Jerry said, "Get rid of it." Okay, good. So Google. I think Google's right. So this is Google says
you're right. They were
in the year
NFC
2000.
East for sure.
The NFC West was the Saints, the Rams, the St. Louis Rams, obviously, the Carolina Panthers, the San Francisco 49ers. Hilariously enough. Oh no, it was and then the Atlanta Falcons. So the West had the Falcons in it, which the Saints is already bad, but the Falcons is even funnier. And Carolina Panthers, obviously, that's funny. NFC East, the Giants, the Eagles, the Commanders, the Cowboys, the Cardinals, which is obviously just clusterfuck. And then the Central was Vikings, Bucks, Lions.
Yeah, the Bucks are the only outliers there.
Yeah, and that one obviously makes sense. Let's see. The East was Tennessee, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Jacksonville.
I'm getting that as
Cincinnati,
the Central.
Browns.
That's the Central.
That's the Central.
Yeah.
The West is Oakland.
That all makes sense except for Kansas City.
So yeah. No, not Kansas City wasn't in that one. Kansas City's in the next one. No,
I got them in the AFC West in 2001.
I have them in the AFC Central. I'm sorry. AFC, yeah. So yeah, 2000 is okay. Yeah, you're okay. I'm sorry.
Changed the year before.
Reading. No.
I'm looking at 01.
Okay, yeah, no, they're not going to change. We were just talking about 2 different divisions. Raiders, Broncos, Chiefs, Seahawks, Chargers. That's basically how we've known it. Just the breakup of the Seahawks to the other conference.
Yeah.
And then the East, and I actually do remember the Seahawks being in the other conference. And the East is funny too.
It's just the East and the Colts. Yeah.
Which honestly kind of works.
Nothing wrong with that.
I guess Peyton was a division rival.
Although Baltimore is significantly further east than Indianapolis, but that's fine. Not as significantly as Dallas and Arizona being.
But then I guess when they made that, they were Cleveland, right?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
But Cleveland's also in the Central, so no.
No, we brought Cleveland back. Remember?
Yeah, but they're both in the Central.
They probably
neither one is, but neither one is in the East.
I mean, they put Houston in the same conference as Tennessee.
The Colts were in Baltimore. That's probably where that comes from.
Right.
Yeah, that's probably where that comes from. Yeah.
exactly. That's right. That's
All
funny
right.
as hell.
That's hockey talk.
Yeah.
The Stars are really good. If you haven't tuned in yet, you got 20 more games of the regular season. Trade deadline is this weekend.
Not to beat a dead horse,
we
but you know
might
you're not
do
watching
something.
basketball, BFW.
We might be doing something on the trade deadline. We might not. A couple days to figure that one out. Point at cap space. Let's see what happens.
Let's do it. I mean, I don't know anything about it, but I always want to be excited and tantalized.
It'd be nice to pull in a healthy defenseman.
There you go.
That said,
we're putting an order in Amazon right now.
Yeah, right after the NHL trade deadline, it's March Madness. I'm pretty sure Texas women's did well in the SEC. I don't think the men did great.
I am not going to say that I've done any of my research to look at the brackets yet.
Well, obviously, I don't think they're out yet.
Or no, I meant the conference brackets.
I was like, we got to do conference title games, and then
look, this is all I was going to pitch. I will watch. I will be entertained. I don't follow college basketball like that. I will have a prospects list as part of the hoopla next week because there probably won't be a whole lot else to talk about. And I think we'll focus more on it. We'll enjoy the March Madness. We'll do the brackets. We'll be wrong a lot. And someone will be less wrong at the end of it.
Yeah, we'll have to decide what the loser has to do this year. Last year I fell asleep an hour into NASCAR, and if you're watching our live stream, you could watch me sleep for the rest of it.
Which arguably is content that people might be out there looking for.
And yeah, to be fair, if anyone else had talked to me, I might have stayed awake, but just me in this room by myself watching NASCAR, there was no way I was staying awake for that. All that was to kill time to say, yeah, I believe Texas won I guess they're tied with South Carolina, but I think they're, because they had a better overall record, maybe have the conference regular season title for women's basketball.
Well,
in the SEC.
But
they're the number 2 team in the SEC tournament. So
because SCAR is, that is women's college basketball right now. That is arguably the dynasty.
But they have a worse record than Texas did in the regular season. That's all I'm saying.
And we will see. It's not like dynasties last forever. Don Staley's done a hell of a job so far, but it does feel like Texas women's got momentum.
Texas moving into the SEC, we're going to somehow get even more titles in other sports we weren't getting them in. I don't know how this is going to work, but...
Well, women's basketball has been good. Texas is always going to struggle, and we'll talk about him next week, but Texas is always...
Baseball's coming. Look out.
Sure. But Texas men's basketball, I have
not there yet.
The least faith. I have no faith that Texas men's basketball will ever win.
I don't understand why they can't figure that one out.
They don't. It's an AAU team. I answered for you. Nike runs it. It's an AAU team.
They had Kevin Durant.
And that's who started it.
They have a bunch of NBA players.
Team it is. That's whose AAU team it is. I love Kevin Durant, but it's true. Those guys are good, and I think they've gotten a little bit better, but I still think that they probably should find a better, happier medium in the.
They finished 6-11 in the conference this year, 17-13 overall. Not great.
No, and they have a guy who maybe could have been the number 1 pick if he was on a team, and I'm saying that with respect to the guys who are already in that conversation. Because we would have seen him on a more competent team, but we've just seen him play hero ball for the Longhorns, and it's been awesome. And I'm excited to talk about it. What little I've seen has been fun, but it's just another story in a long line of great NBA player. Plays with a bunch of other guys.
There was a moment when my 1 year that I spent at Texas, where we got moved to number 1 in the country. And I'm pretty sure it's just been downhill from there.
Who would have been that? Yeah, that was a great year. And you know why, right? Because
PJ Tucker?
No, it was after PJ.
Corey Joseph?
It could have been Corey. It could have been Tristan. But I don't think that. I think, could have been around then. Avery Bradley. But no, you're thinking, you got to think deep cuts. You got Davion James, right? Or Damon James. Was it Damon James?
Roster.
Was our best player?
Damian James, Avery Bradley.
Yeah. Damian James was awesome, dude. I really wanted him to be
Jacobin Brown, Jordan Hamilton,
Jacobin Brown,
Dexter
could fucking hoop.
Pittman.
Hamilton could hoop.
Dexter
Pittman.
motherfucking Pittman.
Dexter Pittman was good in college, but yeah, he went to the Heatles. He was a part of the first
I
Heatles.
remember. And those are the names I kind of remember Dean Melchione's name, just because it's
I think he was
Italian.
a big white boy that played. Yeah,
I do not remember Dogus Balbe from Turkey.
Yeah, Texas likes to have those big white boys, big lanky white boys on the bench.
Wongmany. Alexis Wongmany.
I don't think he played much. I don't know if he played a whole lot, or if I remember.
He did 5 years at Texas.
AJ's already gone off that team, right? AJ
Yeah.
Abrams, that's my all-time favorite Texas Longhorn hooper. I love Kevin Durant. I know who Kevin Durant is. I don't have to. I obviously,
if he had put in more than 1 year, he could list higher at Texas. But
and it's like sometimes certain players, like it's like Rondo. Like I am well aware of Rondo's status all time, but Rondo mystified me personally. Like the way I love the game of basketball, Rondo speaks to it specifically. So I felt like AJ Abrams, the way he shoots threes. He was just YOLO, dude. He was just throwing his body on the court. Every shot he'd be like perpendicular, falling on his ass, drill it. No fear.
Damn. Jordan Hamilton's still playing in Lebanon.
Jordan Hamilton was a first round pick by the Nuggets, I think. Yeah. I think he was a lottery picker. If he wasn't, he was the pick after lottery.
Well, to be fair, he was a Dallas Mavericks pick, but the Nuggets. Because the NBA is so dumb.
That's good though, because I think that pick probably would have helped them get some sort of part of the 2011 title winner. There were some good moves for the Mavericks being made at that point, is all I remember. I don't know if that was one of them, but there was some.
I was gonna say not immediately after.
No. It would have been them getting one of the role players on that title team at some point in that offseason, because they just. If you go look at the Mavericks and what they did after they kind of seemingly fell off in 2008 or whatever, and then kind of quietly retooled their team into a super intense defensive group, and then Dirk maturing.
That's the Bismack Biyombo draft.
Oh yeah, Bisquick meant to go save the Bobcats.
The Corey Joseph draft, yeah.
Win a ship and bring it home like Corey Joe.
Where is the Mavs' actual pick, though? Traded to Denver. I don't think they actually got anybody in the draft. The Nuggets acquired the draft rights to Jordan Hamilton from the Mavericks. Mavericks acquired Rudy Fernandez.
Oh, Rudy Fernandez. I don't know that he actually lasted on the team.
He's not even listed as on the Mavericks ever in his career on his page, so he must have been immediately moved.
No, Fernandez did play for the Mavericks.
No. Portland.
Or did he? Is that?
Denver.
Oh, no, I remember. That's when he dipped. Yeah. You're right.
He went to Real Madrid for a year.
No, yeah, he dipped on the NBA. That was actually Rudy Fernandez is actually a really sad one. I think I personally blame Portland because I think the Mavs actually genuinely probably tried to bring him in and save him from leaving the NBA permanently. But I think at that point there was some damage already done. Did he ever come back?
Yes, yeah, he went back to the Nuggets for a year and then back to Real Madrid for 2 years.
Yeah, so I think Portland really soured him. There was a lot of guys that.
Sorry, he went back to Real Madrid for 12 years, not 2 years.
Yeah, I was about to say no. I know Rudy's story after that. He's like Real Madrid's all-time best player. He's one of Luka's all-time favorite players. Yeah, I mean that's a tough one. Okay, the Mavericks.
Their other draft pick that year was Tanguy Ngombo.
Yeah, whatever. Second round picks weren't going to be worth a whole hell of a lot back in that
from the
era.
Republic of Congo.
We didn't have enough good players for all that.
Would you believe that his birth date and age is disputed on Wikipedia?
Oh yeah, I bet there's a lot of those. In sports.
You get a lot of that in baseball for sure. Anyways, that's March Madness talk. Last little bit that I have for basketball before we hand it over to Bethke for real basketball. Serena bought into the new Toronto WNBA team.
Yeah, I
Question mark?
mean, I
That hasn't
think that
played yet.
that's
Is that true?
yeah, yeah. It definitely is not true. They definitely did not have not played. And I'm assuming, yeah, she's a whatever part owner of this. I don't know if this is a continuance of the pettiness of the Drake Kendrick Lamar beef, but I
Just a
guess.
coincidence. Yeah, who knows?
Well, I mean, you could argue it's a timing thing. She's obviously retired
I
now
mean,
and investing.
there's no other expansion team for her to buy into at this moment.
Well, there was the Golden State Valkyries that just started. There's also actually another, like, there's some other teams where maybe like she could have gotten in on, but this is the second one of like the four that they're introducing to us over time. I think they're still trying to decide the next two.
And she has to
Um,
get the right partners go in with. Maybe they
so
don't want to
a lot of
be.
this is just bag talk. So obviously good for Serena for
Well,
doing
here you
this.
go. This moment is not just about basketball. It is about showcasing the true value and potential of female athletes. I have always said that women's sports are an incredible investment opportunity. I am excited
Yeah,
to partner
I
with
agree.
Larry and all of Canada in creating the new WNBA franchise and legacy.
Yeah, I mean, I that's one of the things that I think she would know better than we would. There is a gross under appreciation for the female sports fan, and I'm not saying that it's this big crazy market, but I'm saying that especially in the modern world where all of people. I mean, did you just see that MSG is about to go bankrupt? Um,
The
like
building?
no, their or MSG's whatever their TV network thing is.
Is that
Their
MASN?
regional,
No.
yeah, their
No,
regional.
Yes Sports? The
No,
Yankees?
the one that Dolan has for the Knicks and the
Uh,
Islanders and stuff. Um, yeah, they're struggling. Obviously, we've seen how the RSN game has gone. I think a lot of that shows that the sports world's going to get a little niche. It's going to get a little more condensed than it has been, and I think women's sports
is it
can find a
possible?
real lane.
SUNY or whatever? No, that's a college. MSG Network. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah,
Sabres, Devils, Knicks.
I didn't
Yeah,
realize it was a couple.
not a great collection of teams.
Well, I mean, the Knicks are starting to return on investment, but it's been a long journey. It's been a long road to get back here.
Last time the Devils mattered, they beat us in the finals. Sabres, last time they mattered, we beat them in the finals.
So, look,
Ooh, here's an interesting note for you. What would become MSG debuted on October 15th, 1969, when an NHL hockey game between the New York Rangers and the Minnesota North Stars. There you go. We're part of history. Folding history, but history nonetheless.
yeah, the Minneapolis Lakers. But no, Serena buying in is awesome, and obviously, I think the WNBA is. It really feels like in a good window here. I'm curious to see, how this continues to unfold. Obviously, with Unrivaled pairing together, does one of them undertake the other at any point? Because I do feel bad for Unrivaled because I think it's this awesome thing, but I do wonder. I mean, I guess it's still a little ways away,
You
but
just gotta worry
eventually,
about the saturation of the market. Like you're asking the thing that it can get to a point, but I just don't know if anything's gonna break the big two of NFL and NBA ever because
but you're again, it's who
people
are
only
you?
have so much time.
I would argue it's what audience are you trying to capture? And I think if you're trying to capture NFL fans, and this is kind of our conversations we have offline, if you're trying to capture NFL fans, you can't really put content that's not NFL in their face, like true NFL fans. NFL fans are
What about
probably one of the
female flag
few.
football in the spring?
But I mean, I do think you can give a lot of bad football to football fans, and they'll still accept anything. Um, NFL fans in particular, I think, are the most locked into only one sport of all the fan bases. And so you just have to understand
And to be
with
fair,
them, you only
it's just
talk at them.
easy because even though we spread it out now, in their head, they're still like, oh, it's only once a week.
Yeah, exactly. And so I understand I'm not here to litigate that, but if you're going for that market, you're probably already barking up the wrong tree unless you're giving them what they want. I think the NBA learned that, and I think that's why they've done so well because they're capturing an international market at a rate the NFL can't. I think baseball has started to identify things that can help them succeed with younger audiences and a diverse influx of new Americans in the last few generations, and especially people that come from Asia who do have baseball in their cultural fabric already, right? Or cricket, which honestly, if people are that interested, can certainly find a marriage between the two games there. So I think you just know your audiences. I think for the WNBA, they have an untapped market. And I think they probably have an advantage of bringing in people even from like LGBTQ plus communities into watching sports where they probably never would have prior, right? So I think they have their own market to dominate, but they have to capture that market and really own it. Where, appeasing the general audiences could be great. Will it ever happen? Awesome if it does, but I don't think that's their goal. I think they're just trying to make the best watching experience for their league. I just fear that Unrivaled will sort of fall out of the fray because we will be rewarded with so much more basketball. And maybe the ladies are rewarded with so much better money that Unrivaled is unappealing to the top players. And then, it's just interesting to see how that one will go. I think if anything, Unrivaled will serve a purpose to force the WNBA into bettering and having some competition to better their product, where I don't think there was enough pressure on the W prior.
That was some of the talk about Live, and Live has the golf
Exactly
league,
like
and
that.
it hasn't gone anywhere yet. So we'll see.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's interesting. Serena recently bought into, or at least a while back, but is now seeing the fruits of the labor of investing in the, what do they call it, the Tomorrow Golf League or whatever. That just is, I think it's about to wrap up, that indoor golf thing that Tiger and all the pro guys. Yeah. So she's an investor in that. Now she's got a soccer team she's invested in somewhere. I didn't catch which one it was. And now a WNBA team. So it looks like she's learning from her Reddit co-founder husband.
Yeah,
spread your money.
I do appreciate that about Serena Williams the most. I think that you could argue that she hasn't gotten enough credit for the way she's lived off the court. I guess still fair for her compared to like LeBron
outside of
and
dancing
whoever.
I was gonna say, outside of dancing at the halftime, you don't hear or see from her at all. She's pretty much just doing her own thing.
Exactly, and that's honestly what you would think she would be championed by certain people more for those actions, but these people don't seem to reach far enough into the bag. Serena's crazy and truly one of the most dominant athletes I think I'll ever watch in my life.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously, when you get into those conversations, it depends on your definition. Obviously, when you're talking about greatest athlete, if you're just speaking of how they rank among their own competition, then
Maria Sharapova was like that, and she made short work of her every time.
She never won. Yeah, she was never considered the best because of one person.
like that's sometimes, and I hate to do that to Maria Sharapova, but that's the truth, man. She was good as hell.
Win,
but she was
at least
second.
in team sports, you've got like other things you can kind of be like, the team sucked. Barkley can be like, the Suns didn't put it around me.
Yeah, you could always argue the roster building with other teams,
and then in tennis, you can at least be like, they just played better than me. And then in golf, you're like, I just didn't do it right.
If you're John McEnroe, you just yell and cuss and break shit.
Just hopped up on all the cocaine. Yeah, so I guess with that, we'll move into the proper basketball time of the pod.
Well, yeah,
that was awkward.
The National Basketball Association doth turn. For some, this is an excruciating time frame. We've had just a weird month since the deadline. This is supposed to be one of the more exciting times in the NBA, and it's just kind of not been for many reasons. Some people are having a great time, but it feels like the minority. The minority are having a great time, where the majority are currently.
Well, are they? Because they're the biggest fan base by
they
a
are
wide
the biggest
margin.
fan
Are they
base.
not the majority?
I would say
almost everybody except for the Mavs is having a little fun.
Yeah, there's a lot of people enjoying it. I would say Rockets fans a lot, Spurs fans a little. There's some other teams.
We don't hate the Mavs. You know what I mean? They're not the Rockets.
No, the Rockets, I think
The Mavs, everyone's like, oh, that's too bad, guys.
I think the thing is the Mavs and the Spurs have had such a respectable rivalry throughout their like time of being really good teams, and that looks amazing. Damn, is that Wimby's beach towel?
It's a fucking 60 by 80-inch blanket. It's awesome, but it's huge.
Yeah. I think it's always been a fun rivalry because Houston, I think, hates both of you guys so much because y'all have that like real rivalry. And I think Houston and San Antonio had that in the 90s, but we just are so far removed, and it didn't happen on NBA Twitter at all or in the zeitgeist like that.
The Yao Rockets weren't.
Of course, we were unfortunately cut short of at least 5 or 6 good years of Rockets basketball. So not a great one there. But yes, we are. Some people are having a great time. Some people are not. And that's kind of what we're going to do here. We're going to Tears it up. I don't know if I've uploaded it. I also put it in the production request. Do you have a preference on how to play with the tiers?
Whatever you want to do.
I'm just going to pop this up real quick, and we're going to introduce our tiers list. Oh, still here. We're going to see the contenders. We're going to see the contenders if. We're going to see the danger.
Why do the Jazz get so much real estate?
Because someone uploaded their logo in the biggest possible way. The danger zone, the mid, and better luck next year. Now, don't necessarily take those as an exact ranking of good and bad. Obviously, that middle zone looks a little weird for the middle zone. It just fits because sometimes the danger zone is a team competent enough. Oh, that's the big slangers. That's the last time we did it. That's the last. That was the other one. So we can actually, we could compare and contrast, but I kind of remember that all in my head.
I just want to look at it one more time, see who's all in the mid zone.
Yeah, well, there's plenty here. So we'll break it down the easiest way we can. The contenders. There's not much to talk about with these teams, even though it seems like we should highlight the best teams. That's not the show we do, So we don't really have to get into that. You just need to understand the Cavs and the Celtics and the Oklahoma City Thunder have all basically passed all the tests. SGA, I think, is still MVP favorite.
Yeah, from everything I've read.
And likely will lock it in at this point.
We should mention all three of these teams are the 3 teams that passed the Phil Jackson 40-20 mark, which is you got to win your 40th game before you lose your 20th to be an actual contender, which holds true way more than it doesn't. So
it is, and usually the only times it doesn't is when teams make big moves at the middle of the season.
Yeah, injury or something.
Yeah. And then in those teams, the Cavs, they've done big this year. They already had a great season going. They make a trade for DeAndre Hunter. It's panned out beautifully. Ty Jerome has been absolutely amazing as their 6th man. They have reset and reformed their team into a very, very, very talented roster full of scorers. I still have pause, but it's not great pause, and I'm interested to watch them in the NBA final or in the NBA playoffs. The Celtics, they're natural rivals here, will probably end up finishing second. Drew Holiday has a weird injury a finger injury that is going to kind of put them in a weird position. Not a bad one. If there's any part of their depth chart that they can afford, I think they have enough guard room to sort of make it work. And they've got so much talent, they can definitely make it work. But it's worth noting that with the Cavs being so deep, the Celtics' margin for error on injury side might be a little bit less, if not significantly less than it was last year. And they already were kind of working against that. I mean, I don't mean to bring this up. Let's actually not bring up the other team. The team they beat in the NBA Finals had a moment where it looked like they could have potentially used a Kristaps Porzingis injury as momentum to get back into a series that perhaps their best player could have helped them win, and their second best player, being his usual great self, could have interfered. There was a path. It wasn't great. I'm not saying if Doctor Strange could redo it a billion times that a lot of them would come out for the other team, but there was one way, right?
I'd give it like 80-20.
Yeah, it had some odds. It had some significant odds, but they were still pretty daunting.
Yeah, Kyrie
didn't work out.
Kyrie's disappearance in the last 2 rounds, I guess, last year were wild.
Yeah, I agree.
Kind of underreported.
Anonymous player too.
He kind of disappeared for
he didn't
a couple
have a
rounds
great
of the playoffs,
especially.
But he's got a really good work ethic, so
He did well. He's done well in other aspects. So like I said, Celtics margin for error and injury might be a little sketchy this year. Oklahoma City, I don't believe in them still that much, if I'm being honest. I think they're kind of young, and I really don't think this is a fair criticism. So I will say that in advance, I do think they've checked all the boxes off. They are obviously going to have the MVP. They have an incredible second player in command there with Chet. But, and I do mean this, I felt like when they didn't do a 2-for-1 deal on the rotation, that it was sort of an omission of the youth for the roster, and that Sam Presti didn't want to go all in this season. And I didn't think all in was making the Jimmy Butler trade, or even, I mean, I guess Luka wouldn't have worked, but anyway, because then you get rid of SGA.
I think he works you wouldn't have to get rid of SGA.
Well, no, I mean, how do you actually make the trades?
Nico Harrison would have just taken like a trailer full of hay or something, apparently.
Unfortunately, we can't leave out all the details of the decisions made. And unfortunately, Nike and Anthony Davis and former relationships probably played into this a lot more than any other team could have ever competed with. But so save for the anomaly trade this season, usually this would have been them cashing in on two guys that are decent salary. Maybe they drafted them, have their controlled rights, but they're like, hey, these two guys, they're flawed. If we could get one guy that kind of does what they both do, that would make us better. We're already going to shorten our rotation in the playoffs. Everybody knows that. Everybody who tries to go in with 9-man rotation is just lying to you. That they're just basically telling you they don't got enough guys.
All the anti-Thibodeaus.
Yeah. The anti-Thibodeau for sure. Now, want to go full Thibs.
He's like, I do it with 3.
You never want to go full Thibs, but you also have to come to the realization that only about 8 to maybe 9 guys are even going to play in the finals if you get that far. And if the 9th and 8th guy play, it may not be much at all.
It's either because things are going very well or very poorly.
Yeah. And so, or like you just need to spare like 2 minutes here and there just to give one guy a breather. You know what I mean? It's really that drastic in the finals. And the game is slower because they play it slower, and the more commercial breaks. Those are also important factors. And there's more spacing in days mostly. So that's the contenders list. Those are the 3 teams. We know them. We'll see them. Nothing they can do in the regular season really matters anyway at this point.
But just for some reference, where they're at right now, historically speaking, I guess, the Cavs sitting at an .836 win percentage. That would make them the 6th best team of all time in the regular season. They're able to maintain that win percentage. And the Thunder not far behind that. I think they'd be 8th or 9th. So those are obviously good, great numbers.
If I had to say one thing about it, and this isn't a slight to them, I think this is truly how other teams need to consider their business. I think and there's some contenders that also qualify, like Memphis. If you have health, obviously, having a young group is great in the season is mostly.
Yes.
But I think truly understanding who your 4 out of your 5 starters are, and truly having at least 1 or 2 guys, even if they're just going to switch, are part of your rotation, is enough to put you in a different tier of the regular season in the NBA now. Like, you can actually utilize that formula alone, regardless of what your top end potential is. You can utilize that.
Steve Kerr wasn't it Steve Kerr at the beginning of the year who's like, I'm going to run a fucking 15-man rotation all year to save bodies? And
and they got off to a hot start. Unfortunately, the hot start is definitely a different thing. We see it in baseball. I'm sure.
I just mean the idea of like, you're not running, obviously in October, you're not running the same rotations you're likely going to run in the playoffs
at all. Well, to some extent, but if you can get as close as you are to that, I think it does drastically benefit. So the Cavs are a great example. The Cavs clearly did not like their 5th rotation player, or their 5th starter, and they clearly did not like all of their rotation pieces. So they went and they got DeAndre Hunter, who absolutely solidifies that 5, and the rest is now not only have they had this successful season, now they have a chance to take that even further and capitalize on a window where maybe the Celtics are not going to be able to stay healthy, and the rest of the NBA may not be ready for their championship window. And that's kind of what the rest of the tiers are going to get into. I do feel like right now my favorites are the Cavs a little bit. I respect Celtics. I just winning back-to-back is tough, frankly.
And of the three teams that we have here in our contenders list, the Cavs are the one that early in the year I thought maybe let me put a small amount of credit on and see if that'll play out.
Little tithe, huh?
And we'll see. They're one of two teams. It's them and then a team that we got here in the contenders called the Milwaukee Bucks.
And that's not a bad one. So I will start with the contenders if now. The East has just two of these teams. The Knicks, who were basically our big offseason darling, and they've mostly been good. It's not been perfect, but it's mostly been good.
I've got the same kind of block with the Knicks that I have with stuff like the Lions or like,
Well, some of that is still true. I think the one credit I'll give to this group is that despite the changes they've made,
I think
they've
I
had
know
at least a
that I
experience
undervalue
now.
what Jalen Brunson is. So
true, Jalen's great. I think Karl-Anthony Towns has fit well. They finally had a big guy next to him to play defense, and then Carl gets injured. Obviously, that gets into the Tibbs part of it all. And that's where it's difficult, for me a little bit, because Thibodeau is a controversial guy, and I think he's a hell of a coach. I think he's earned it. I think he'll be a basketball Hall of Famer. But to say that there's no well, especially if it's also you do it with the Cat, don't do it to Cat too, man.
Well,
Karl-Anthony Towns really could.
Derrick Rose, right? Isn't that kind of on Tibbs? I mean,
I don't think it's as on Tibbs as it is unfortunate of sports science as well. And the only reason I bring that up is because I remember, I don't think it was Russ, but it was someone talking about Russ and saying how, I think it was Derrick, how if Derrick Rose would have learned to land on his feet differently, that this could have gone a lot of different ways. And it's not his fault, obviously. It's not their trainer's fault. Sports science in that time really used him to understand. And then by the time we got to Russell Westbrook, who was his natural successor, and basically, if you think about the archetype, Russ didn't have these issues because Russ put effort and time and strength training into exactly what was causing Derrick Rose's injuries. And I mean, obviously, Russ is a much bigger guy, but again, that was as a result of him understanding in sports science, understanding what had happened to Derrick Rose.
This is going to be a really dumb question, but was Russ as much of a just explosive dunker early on that I just don't remember the way Rose was?
Oh my God. Yeah.
Did I just forget. Okay.
Dude, Russell Westbrook is easily, I would say, Blake Griffin, LeBron James, Russell Westbrook in my time.
Is Ja in that conversation now? Is Ja in that conversation now?
So it's different. That's different. I'm thinking big and spectacular. Like pure, like built like NFL players, but with the grace and the speed of the gazelles.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like just incredible freak humans. Like I don't know how to categorize it. Baby Shaq. Honestly, yes. If you watch 90s Shaq, it's basically not. It's it's
Magic
like
Shaq.
Yeah. It's just a different kind of animal. I think Russell Westbrook, not Russell Wilson specifically, is one of the greatest athletes of all time in any sport.
All I remember about their early run was just how much I hated him.
Well, yeah, he's a huge shit talker. He invented the rock the baby thing, so everyone's had to see people get rocked to sleep for a while, and then, but he's a great entertainer, and I think that's what people remember most about him after the other stuff, after all of the unfortunate stuff. But at least his unfortunate stuff is basketball related, which is good.
Sort of, I guess.
No. The only negative he's gotten is that he's kind of but he's also
kicked out for calling him Westbrook or
yeah, but those things are so minuscule. Like he's a little hard to agree with, but he's also like one of the most charitable humans in sports. So it's kind of one of these funny things.
I need to say this in a funny voice so it doesn't sound like I actually mean it. I don't care if you beat your wife. I need you to hit those threes and not yell at the fans.
Unfortunately, that's Adam Silver. That is Adam Silver in a
I mean,
nutshell right now.
that's just culture, human culture in the entertainment world for a long time.
So yes,
I would say American, but it's probably true in other countries too. So
I hope so too. The Knicks. So yeah, they basically we need to figure out if Karl Anthony Towns is seriously injured or not, and we don't know if the Knicks are going to be honest with us about that.
Can he play? Are they doing hockey style? Is it an
Well,
upper body injury?
I haven't been following the injury enough, but I was watching the game when it happened, and it kind of felt like one of those that was a little more than nothing.
Reminds me.
So I don't know. He's still out right now, and I think they're still just sort of listing him as week to week at this point.
News: Karl Anthony Towns.
I'm pretty sure is how they're going with it. I don't think they're even doing day to day.
Available for Knicks versus Lakers an hour ago.
Are they playing tonight?
It might be tomorrow, but the story came out an hour ago.
Well, look at that. I mean, that's the first positive sign then.
So he should be available tomorrow.
Well, thank you, because that's the sign that people want to see. But then is it rushed back?
Okay, wait.
Uh-oh.
That was the headline. Then the quote is from Tibbs. I can't answer that. I don't know. So when he's ready to come back, obviously we want him back.
Yeah, imagine.
But wasn't he out recently more for personal? Yeah, okay. So he missed the last game for undisclosed personal reasons, and they couched it that way, not making it injury related. So
yeah, even though we watched him walk off with an injury in the other game.
I don't know. I feel like they wouldn't have. I feel like they wouldn't add personal reasons unless there was something actually.
You're talking about a team that hasn't spoken to the media proper in 3 years.
Okay. Fair enough.
So I don't know what the Knicks are up to, but they basically run their business in a similar way to some other people in that quadrant of America right now, and another person from New York.
Wait, here's a new article. It's the Post. So
their New Hope?
It's the Post, so who knows what it means. Jordan Woods tweets, "Fuck cancer," after boyfriend Karl Anthony Towns misses Knicks game.
Oh, okay.
So all right. Who knows what's going on exactly?
That is an important development. I guess we will definitely watch. Okay, so Karl Anthony Towns definitely had something happen to his ankle.
I don't know if that means he had cancer or he hurt his ankle and then found out someone else had cancer.
Right, right. But let's be patient and let's see how that goes.
Not a laughing matter.
If he's going to play tomorrow, that'll be interesting.
But that was a headline of Teodo saying, "I can't tell you if he is or not." So
I guess we will find. I mean, they're TNT. I would assume. I'm pretty sure they're not going to put. Oh, that's the old one.
God damn it! Sorry.
Big slangers. Look, Purgatory, dude. Purgatory changed. Look at the Lakers. Look at Frisky but iffy. Oh my God.
Who would have known that adding Luka Doncic would turn you into a
immediately out of purgatory, the fail up franchise? God damn it, Lakers!
Which we can go there. We could talk about that now. It fits in.
Yes, they are. Well, the Bucks. I still needed to say the Bucks have had a really good turn of things since the trade deadline. Dame and Giannis are playing well together. The group looks fine otherwise. I think I'm still very concerned about Doc Rivers. I think I'm very concerned with Darvin Ham, especially now. And no offense, maybe Anthony Davis is a part of this. I don't know. I don't know. But Darvin Ham is not being done any favors now with the
I saw a funny thing. I think it was probably on Reddit where they were like, literally all Anthony Davis asked for was a center to play next to, and they just traded him to the Mavs.
And GD Buss continued to that narrative.
I think that's it was based on her the thing that came out today.
Oh my God. So yeah, I think the Bucks are good. I do question the depth. I question Kyle Kuzma, even in the 2020 championship. I think that was a situation where defensively, I was impressed by Kyle Kuzma's work ethic and attention to detail, but he did not perform well as a scorer. They will need him to do both. The Lakers got away with playing murder ball, basically, and that's basically how they just bully balled their way to a title. Maybe there's another part of the thing that people like to get into with the 2020 title. I know, but as just looking at the basketball alone, they were bullies. I'm just going to
say, like, if you're talking about, like if there's a best strategy for a bunch of guys who've been thrown out of whack, just fucking go at them.
Yes, and they can't. And the Lakers couldn't shoot. They had no other alternative. The Lakers had only one game plan that could work.
What I would say is the reason I would trust outside of the Celtics, the reason I would trust the Bucks as the team to at least win the East is just that classic NBA trope of they've been there, they've done it a little bit. Whereas all these
Dame
other
and
teams in the
Giannis.
East are kind of just
We're gonna
well,
talk
Dame's
about
has Dame ever been past the second round? Was
well,
he on the title team?
Damon's had a great playoff career, yeah, because he's got multiple game winners. He's been in the Western Conference Finals. I don't think I think the Warriors swept them or gentlemen swept them once. Yeah, so I think Giannis and Dame always fit together. I think
For sure, Giannis. And you say we want about Doc Rivers, but he obviously has skins on the wall. He's been everywhere.
Yeah, and he obviously
if you can get him past that second for first round, it's.
And Doc's not an idiot. He knows the narrative, and he probably wants to rewrite that narrative a little bit before he rides
He's
off.
Like, guys, I don't even have my son on this team.
Exactly. No, I do think Doc wants to rewrite that narrative. I think that title would mean a lot and probably instant retirement for him. But when it comes to the Bucks, I think that's where I still pause. I need to see these role players handle the postseason. But I think we're finally starting to see the full upside of Dame and Giannis. And I think that's awesome. And I think it's awesome because this team is more likable than the other team that's really fun to watch with their 2 stars right now. And I guess that's where we can do the official translation to the Lakers.
Translation.
Yeah.
Translation.
Translate show. Yeah, I mean the Lakers are really fun to watch. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, it's. Can you imagine? Can you imagine playing NBA Jam right now, and you just get LeBron and goddamn Luka Doncic?
Dude, the chemistry is already really fun to watch.
Well, I mean, it's perfect. LeBron doesn't have to try as hard, and then gets set up for some of the best.
We have wide receiver LeBron finally. It's crazy.
And Wade did do some of this for sure, but I think Luka's slightly better at it.
But this is more like set with Dwayne and LeBron. They obviously did have this dynamic full court game, but they were both so fast and in their best windows that it was this more fluid game. With Luka and LeBron, it's understood. Luka's not trying to run up that court, and LeBron don't mind it if it means an easy bucket.
Yeah, why would you all have to run up there if only one guy has to do it?
LeBron is loving the fact that he gets to just jump ball against 3 or 4 dudes and then just easy get it in transition. And this happens multiple times in a game.
Luka, what was it last night or the night before? Luka became the 4th player in Lakers history to do 30 points and 15 assists in his 9th game there.
Luka is loving Los Angeles. And it's very clear. And I know he loved Dallas, and I know he always will. And I know that sucks for him because I could tell how down he was.
But I mean, can you imagine, when you captivate, this is the softest landing. Unless if they traded him to like Boston,
it only wasn't if the pressure was too big. That's the only time the Lakers really fail for a star. If you can't deliver anything close to what Kobe gave them, you are fucked. You understand that?
Yeah, but that's just never been Luka's. Luka, he either doesn't feel it or he surges on it. I'm not sure which it is.
Exactly. But see, I think Luka was perfect for that. And they are passionate. The one thing about Lakers fans, you have to give credit for, at least in the building. They love in the building. They get loud. Oh. That building rocks when they are good. And they know how good Luka is. They are not
silly
stupid.
Dance.
Yes, they understand. Honestly, I love the Laker fans so much because I guarantee you 60% of them already love Luka more than LeBron.
Well, yeah.
Because of the history, I understand it's that easy.
LeBron's overlap with Kobe's career makes that impossible for him to ever,
there's a lot of the Kobe stands that they struggled. They bit their lip.
They like him.
They bit their lip on it.
They wanted someone else, and they're glad it's not Anthony Davis.
They were... And they loved Anthony Davis too. And I think they rode for him. They understood how great Anthony is. But yes, I think it's difficult to constantly be
it's like
dealing with the same problems.
That wasn't going to be a fair comparison. I'm not going to make it. I was going to offend Anthony Davis real bad.
Wait, it's almost like if you traded him for Luka Doncic.
No, I was going to say that's like me being like happy about Keldon Johnson. Great guy. Kevin Lynch. Love him.
Well, yeah, Anthony Davis did give them a title window instantly, and they were really
And
not
they
great
got
with
one,
the
right?
first
So,
LeBron unit, and they did get one. And who knows? Luka still has to get to that point. But this team in particular, to hone in again,
and again, just to go back, I think it was like one of the first games, one of the really famous clips that was going around. His very first kind of like lob, like quarterback pass, where it zoomed in on his face. He's just smiling so big. He's like, "Oh, I've never had a player be ready for this. Like I've been trying this in
or
Dallas
if it
for
is, it's
7 years."
or if it is, it's Josh Green.
I was
And it's
gonna say
Josh.
or
No, I
Hardy
mean,
or
no, because Josh Green, athletic enough to do a lot of what LeBron can do, not LeBron's size, not LeBron's skill. So it's like when you throw it up there, there's not a great chance that it's gonna, go the way it's supposed to go. With LeBron, it's easy money.
He's just, dude. I'm not gonna be surprised if they win a title. That's all I'm saying.
This year, yeah. So let's break that down. The big if, the why they're not in the other category for me. Small ball. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I think that's completely inaccurate. I think it only works in really certain situations. And
Matchup based.
Jackson Hayes, he's useful. He gets the Luka boost. He's even more useful. Cool. But there's only so much Jackson Hayes can really contribute to a title winner. The question I have is Vincent Van Gogh. Or Vincent, how do they do
Vino,
Vincent Van Gogh?
yeah.
Vincent Van Gogh is what they did.
I've seen a lot of hype on him because of how they've played defensively last week.
So no, but this is 3 guys, and this is important.
Oh, I'm thinking of one guy, I guess.
Gabe Vincent, Jared Vanderbilt, Dorian Finney-Smith. That's what they get.
Vanderbilt.
Vincent Van Gogh. That's what there's a run on nicknames that's really one of those deep of the iceberg parts of NBA Twitter stuff that just don't. I'm not going to go there. There's some funny ones that have come out. Like there was one about a player who's questionable, and it was like the moral dilemma is what they called him. So that was kind of funny, but otherwise those have been goofy. But this one was funny to me, Vincent Van Gogh, and it's talking about Gabe Vincent, Jared Vanderbilt, Dorian Finney-Smith. If these 3 guys continue to play their level of defense, you will continue to see the Lakers do what they're doing. If they continue to shoot like this, that is the formula for the Lakers to fuck around and win this title.
That again is part of that is that Luka effect of making everyone a better 3-point shooter than they've ever been in their entire career.
And don't forget about the fact that we are now witnessing LeBron James fully answer the question of off-ball LeBron. LeBron is not just happy to do it.
He's in his 5th career.
He is having a ball. He is doing things like cutting in the lane and fucking swinging out the ball to open corner guys because Luka is creating so much.
The only part I hate about all of this is the jersey they're wearing while they're doing this. Because
yeah, I agree. Banana yellow is terrible.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
No,
Could we have not somehow had LeBron just stay in Cleveland and get Luka up there? That would have been way cooler.
No, I mean we all know the game. Look, I will argue Lakers villainy is not the worst thing for the NBA. I think there's plenty of argument for it.
Just like the Yankees, if they're not relevant, it is, obviously you just miss the dip in the wider audience. So,
and it'll be interesting to see how likable Luka, LeBron are, especially if they're instantly successful. Successful. Good Lord.
But the obvious extra factor that you wouldn't normally have is Luka didn't ask for this. He actively didn't like it. So he's got some barrier and he's white. He's got some barrier for people to hate him less.
No, I mean, I think that there are parts of it that help, but it's still the Lakers. It's still Luka Doncic and his immaturity, which we also have to factor into the equation here. And it's not nothing. It's not nothing. Okay. It's not what Nico Harrison made of it.
It's just funny it's not because nothing. All these all-time greats, none of them figured it out before 27. He's still 26 now.
But again, we're talking about their chances to win this title.
Dirk said he was like 30 when he figured out he should probably stop drinking so much beer.
Oh no, exactly. No, Dirk, and I love Dirk because his honesty is what we don't get out of a lot of other guys. that
Yeah.
genuine like honesty is not necessarily how, people will come up with, oh, my trainer did something else. Oh my, yeah, no, we figured out this other thing. And it was like, no, I just got
He
into
was like,
better habits.
he was just like, I was literally not taking it seriously because I never felt it until all of a sudden I felt it and then I had to
Exactly.
try.
Hmm.
Which I think Luca will perfectly fit into that.
He
He
will.
seems like that guy. Like
And
I don't know.
I
I've
agree,
seen
but
other guys like I don't want to call anyone out. I've seen other guys that I've seen that it's just like if it's not given to him, I don't see him working that hard for it.
oh yeah, I mean that's basically all professional athlete scouting is can you tell the difference between that person and that person? If so, you make a lot of money. The Yeah, I mean, but again, my argument is to this title. Luca is still jaw jacking. He's still out there giving the refs hell. And you got to play a second team every night when you're in the playoffs. So don't pretend like that's not a part of the equation.
Yeah,
So
but now he's wearing a Lakers uniform.
sure, maybe we'll see. Maybe that'll help. We'll see. We will see.
They're not like
Um,
what team are you playing for? Never heard of
I
these Mavericks.
I still want to see that, but again, I think the Lakers are still fairly flawed. I think they're probably still going to have to come up with a different version of this to really take it to
As
the
a
next
team,
level.
yes. I just think about night in, night out, who's gonna be able to handle that
No, it still feels like the floor for this team could be incredibly high.
just
Like,
mostly because last year he dragged 3 years ago he dragged a really bad team to the Western Conference Finals. Last year he dragged a pretty mediocre team all the way to the finals. And
yeah,
now he's got potentially the greatest player of all time with it.
I would call last year's team above average.
That's fair. Yeah, I probably undervalued him a little bit, but
Yeah,
it's hard to look past the Luca of what he actually does for the whole
absolutely,
team.
absolutely. And so obviously that's I mean, but that we're gonna have a lot of conversations about. The Nuggets, look, Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic. The same thing is true of these guys as it was the other two guys.
Best player on the face of the earth right now.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, look, it's a similar argument to the Lakers. I don't love the group in totality, but if Aaron Gordon's healthy, if Michael Porter Jr. is making smart decisions and hitting shots, you got Christian Braun has been a great youngster that's come up to be super useful for them. They've got a window. I love Russell Westbrook. Nothing would make me happier than Westbrook being a useful six-man to a title winner. But we have to be realistic.
If I had to pick over him and Harden, I'd probably pick him. But
well, they didn't win the title though, right? So if he wins the title,
I'm saying if I had to pick between those of the Thunder guys that I didn't like,
you would pick him over Harden.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I never had a relationship against Russell Westbrook. James, I don't mind. James is very disrespectful to the game of basketball. So I guess I have less.
We have more history with him because he went on to Houston and do other stuff that we had to contend with. So
yeah, I guess for me, it depends on how you are.
This is all personal.
And I guess for me,
based.
I don't love the guys who represent the game in the old fashion because it happens, in my opinion. It breeds more Anthony Edwards. The stereotype, the trope of the athlete. I appreciate these guys more when they handle their business, when they make great successes of themselves on and off the court. And I do appreciate when they build more of the family unit, when they show that there's more to life than the money and the bullshit.
So you don't like James Harden going to strip clubs?
I don't mind it. I just don't prefer it. And if I was on some Nico Harrison shit, I would have traded him for that reason at some point. Absolutely.
No, because see what you're missing is that's actually the dog mentality.
But again, people, I just don't agree with that because as many people want to maybe say Michael did what he did. I grew up with the era that how many of my favorite players were not who they should have been because of these exact things.
And let's talk about Michael's quote unquote discipline when he's fucking drinking vodka and smoking cigars before the game on the golf course.
But he's also a maniacal like he's also insane. Like
when he was on the court, yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? Like this is a driven person to a different level than anyone else has maybe ever been wired. If I was going to
go into what Jordan is lacking in the GOAT conversation is what if he actually had LeBron's actual like just strictly basketball work ethic, you know what I mean? Didn't do all the other stuff. How good would he have been? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that's a fair argument to that. If you would have had the outside of the court stuff, I think with LeBron, who knows? But again, if that makes LeBron softer, so be it. I prefer the ambassador of the sport, LeBron. Just like, hey, Kyrie, it's tough right now. I appreciate that Kyrie beat the asshole charges. He's done a great job. Yeah. What has Kyrie done?
Well, okay, so obviously this is like fifth hand, but listening to a podcast with a guy who's friends with people in the Cleveland front office, who at least when he was in there,
but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about we know the Cleveland stuff.
Huge asshole, like as a human being, not like
exactly.
just being a dick to the media or whatever. Like just as.
But that's why I said he beat the charges, because I understand who Kyrie was when he was younger.
Okay.
So I'm very happy to see Kyrie transitioned into the person he is today.
Less of an asshole, or he's just better about not doing it.
People grow up. I think he also found religion in a different way.
Dallas, where no one talks about what your basketball team does unless they trade away the best player you've ever had.
Well, no, if you're paying attention, he found religion. And I think for him, finding religion brought him a different level of peace. And I think that's brought him a different level of respect around the NBA. And I think that's repaired his image from what we all know about Cleveland, frankly. It's going to be in books.
As far as I've known, all the players have always loved him, That's
exactly.
I don't think that's ever been in question. Maybe LeBron didn't love that he was so young and immature, but he didn't dislike him, I don't think, as a man.
But I do think Kyrie himself, maybe eventually, probably because he's so eloquent, he's probably going to speak about it. And I would venture to guess he'll be very blunt about how he acted in Cleveland. Probably because of who he is today. I do feel like very confident. And that's why I say I back Russell Westbrook. Russ is very easily triggered. And unfortunately, that has made him be very, very reactionary and look like an asshole a lot, But outside of that, he's a really good dude. He's a great ambassador. He does a lot of amazing shit. And, maybe I believe that he doesn't watch defensive film, and I don't love that. But other than that, it's really, he has not been a very...
Not everyone has to be a two-way player.
Well, he was a good defender. But that's the cockiness. It's like, oh, I'm an athlete. I got you. I don't have to watch film. Yeah. And it's like, no, Russ, you still...
for 8 out of 10 guys in the league, that probably works. And then you got the 2 that'll actually beat you.
Well, and he was an all-NBA defensive player while he was in his early 20s, right? And then that changes, and he needs to use the brain more, and then maybe that's where we saw the fall-off. But there's a lot to unpack there.
He fell into Kobe's stat pad. And
what we did do
Sorry,
good,
that was
though,
just easy.
That's okay.
Go ahead.
What we did do is tie it back into the Nuggets with Russ there. So there you go. Memphis... Jaren Jackson Jr. injury, that's notable. We definitely got to make sure Jaren Jackson's good. But they've had a good season, and they ended up doing a little bit of roster management to make this thing feel a little more continuity-wise, like it can compete. But I do feel it's got a lot of regular season good in it. Not a lot of regular season great.
Do ankle sprains work like DEFCON or like most other things?
Yeah, it can be a depth. I mean, they're always going to happen.
He's got a grade. I just mean, like, is it 1 to 5 or 5 to 1?
Oh, I don't know. Grade 2. I think grade 2 means that he's out for a bit. Yeah,
okay.
I think that means that's like a month at least.
Ooh. Well, not the worst time to get that.
No, it's not. But Memphis was probably already going to slide back a little bit in the standings, and I think they have the depth to save themselves in the regular season as it finishes anyway. But yes, Memphis, there's a lot of doubt. But again, Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson, these are very special players. I still don't think they've fully ripened into the best versions of themselves yet, which is saying a lot about what they've already done on their resumes. So this could be the season.
I would like to be able to like Ja Morant because he's obviously incredible on the court.
Well, it's another case of being a young millionaire that famous is not
a little
normal.
Different than other people's.
Yeah, but I mean, have you been following the Anthony Edwards stuff?
Yes.
So it's not like we have an epidemic a bit, but we have Tyrese Halliburton, right? And it couldn't be more opposite in a lot of ways. So it's just, it is what it is. These are a lot of different people. They're going to experience life differently. I don't love all of it. I'll be honest with you. I don't prefer the versions of stories with Anthony Edwards and James Harden. I prefer the other guys that do.
I feel like we shouldn't lump the things those two like together.
I think that for me, there's a similar one because one of my favorite rappers is
it's
Slim
one
Thug.
thing to enjoy strip clubs. It's another thing to openly say, "Let's go to court because I don't want to take care of this kid." That's
I'm sorry,
different lane.
But if you were in a Slim Thug record talking about Me and the MVP share the same hose.
But again, that's
I know I'm
that's
not
at
stupid.
least all things
I'm not
equal.
stupid.
At least all things equal, consensual types behavior.
Oh, there no so same with Anthony Edwards to some extent. He's just not owning up to the responsibility of what comes after.
Yeah, so at least Harden's responsible enough to either be
Yeah.
taking care of these kids.
Exactly.
He's at least,
which I will give James respect for. At least
that's what I'm saying.
I'm
saying
James.
These are two different lanes.
But they're the same to me. No, I'm not differentiating. Shame on both of you. However, James, you did it slightly more honorable. Like, allegedly. I mean, honestly, yeah. James, if you're rapping it and being appropriate, then honestly, good on you. Good on you. But again, if I'm telling the next generation how to be the best NBA player, I'm not telling them to go to the strip club. I'm definitely not doing
that. You want that LeBron. You want some hybrid of LeBron and Tim Duncan where they're just playing video games or in some hyperbaric chamber.
Hey, dude, enjoy your celebrity. You don't need Lil Baby to be your butt buddy. You know what I mean?
Giannis does it great. He just posts video after video about his wife.
No, I mean, but again, you don't have to do that. It's just understand that kids are watching you. Is my point. Really, is really all I'm asking.
Yeah, John Morant.
But as much as mad as we got at Ja, I wish we were as mad at Ant. I'll put it that way. I know there's some similar differences,
to be
but
semantic guy. Yeah, one of them was intentionally posting things, and the other one's just an idiot.
Again, though, I hear you, but
I would say that I would think what Ant was doing is probably worse overall.
Oh, definitely worse, because what Jaws does is what most Americans do anyway.
But he wasn't making Instagram stories being like, "Fuck this kid."
No, but also we have Second Amendment rights, and there's a lot of other stuff that goes into that. And I think the reality of what Ant did is just much harder to sell people, or what he continues to do. Whatever. The last team in contenders, the Golden State Warriors. I do think this team has something, but Steve Kerr did also kind of reiterate the end of the bench question mark thing. I like Jimmy and Draymond playing together. I don't know that it'll work. I'm excited to watch it play. I am thoroughly excited to watch it play.
It is interesting to think about Jimmy on that team. I keep forgetting he's there.
He's still sort of being slowly acclimated to the
when
team
the playoff comes around and he goes full psycho on the court. Like that. That's what I want to see.
He won't need to in the same way, but he'll need to complement Steph.
I just mean his intensity, not necessarily stats.
Him and Draymond together.
Just his
that's gonna be crazy.
The way he plays playoff basketball, and now that he'll obviously care way more this year than he maybe ever has. Just
absolutely, such a great
prove invisible haters wrong. He'll get really good.
I think realistically, if I'm questioning the Warriors, it's that they're gonna have to rely on really young guys to be consistent.
Yeah, they're pretty old.
They're old and their bench is young. They've got a weird no middle gap now. You got three old guys and a bunch of kids for the most part. And I don't love that. So that is my pause for the Golden State Warriors. But Steph's playing fucking amazing. Don't let it go overshadowed in how great LeBron is still. That Steph is still
we got to mention
just incredible.
In the last week, we saw what will likely be the last ever Steph Curry dunk.
Yeah, that's true. And he almost broke the shots 3 points in a game, but I think fell short a couple.
And I think the coolest part about that dunk was they asked him about the one before, his last dunk before that, which I think was like 9 years ago, and he perfectly explained exactly what happened. Like he still remembers.
I didn't even see that. Yeah,
I mean, it was like a baseline run, and Kevin lobbed it to him or something like that. But
I don't want dunking to go away. I don't want people to not enjoy that part, but I'm glad that we can understand that not everybody needs to be that guy. You know, like Russell Westbrook and Derrick Rose could do it. Do it. You know, be careful, but do it.
Steph's listed at 6'2", so that's why it's fun when he does it.
Steve Nash, I think Nash was like, I could do it, but I'm not for the most part. Like I could do it in an open gym.
Yeah, it just wouldn't. Yeah, you wouldn't want to take the time during the game to make sure you got it right.
Exactly. It's so much easier to. I mean, Luka does it. Watch him. He's really, I think, more. And Nikola actually, they both. And I think that's just because skill over athleticism has been more about what European basketball has been built
Wemby's
on.
so tall, it's just easier for him to drop it in.
No, true. For you, Wemby, whatever, bro. Make it easy. You got a cheat code. All right, the fun part, the danger zone, because the last two don't take long. The Orlando Magic. This is the first team on the danger zone, mostly because I'm doing the East first.
How are we defining danger zone?
The danger zone is things have gone awry. You're not necessarily bad. You're not necessarily good, though in some cases that can change quickly. We had expectations for you. You have great players. There's just a lot going on in the danger zone. The Orlando Magic had a great start to the season. Paolo Banchero had a great start to the season. He got hurt. They handled business. Paolo Banchero came back. They look like absolute shit. Big part of that is Jalen Suggs going down. Another big part of that is I don't think they've done a good job of figuring out how to control the court. They've got 2-point forwards. That's awesome. But perhaps both of these guys aren't quite the floor generals they need to make the ball move like they need it to. And that's just amongst some of the other natural problems. They've been a bad 3-point shooting team for some time now. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope has helped, but I don't think one player doesn't save a day anyway. And I don't even think he's having one of his better seasons at that. So it's been a lot. We will still watch Orlando play in the playoffs. But I do think this draws very big questions about what the Magic's next steps are to fully maximize the Paolo Banchero era. Because I do think Paolo is your guy. And I think you would like to keep Paolo and Franz.
Was this like their fourth potential guys in my life? You got Shaq, Tracy McGrady,
Grant Hill, but that one, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was thinking more maybe Dwight, and then now.
Dwight, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, Paolo
Why
has
do I
been
think
really
of Grant
good.
Hill and Charlotte more than I do Orlando? Why is that?
Well, I don't think he ever played there, but he was from Duke.
That's it. Yeah. Okay.
That is unfortunately the reality for the Magic. I don't think it's like the worst situation in the world. It's probably fixable in an off season if you do the right things.
I know Grant Hill is from Dallas.
Yeah, his dad played for the Cowboys, Calvin Hill.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not even really technically from Dallas. He just happened to be. They just happened to be here when he popped out. Yeah. So that one worries me. Getting into the second team, you've probably heard a lot about this, even not following the NBA too much. But the Philadelphia 76ers are complete dumpster fire. They went all in this season. Paul George, Joel Embiid, hell of a roster. Let's get this thing going. Daryl Morey's gonna win a championship.
So I guess my question is, why are they not in better luck next year?
Because I don't know what they do moving forward.
Okay.
I don't know what their future looks like.
I guess the way these are listed as tiers makes me feel like
they should. Yeah, but that's why I said these are sometimes teams. Okay. This is a team we had high expectations for. They have a lot of talent on the roster. Joel's injury is a major factor to this season. They would not be as bad as they were without it. But it is a factor, and it's the biggest factor why they are the danger zone themselves. The Joel Embiid may not ever play basketball again at this point. I'm guessing he will, but how long is it going to take to get to that point?
Country?
No, yeah. I think he will. I don't think. I mean, if he can't play, I think this one might be one that maybe doesn't matter what league.
Okay,
I mean, it's bad. This has been
it's confusing because we had
issue.
reports where it's like some people outside were saying the team's trying to force him to play, or they don't believe him that he needs surgery, and he's saying he wants surgery that they don't think he needs. And then I don't know what the last report was, but
he's probably going to be a Dallas Maverick. I mean, no, seriously,
just to add to the Dallas injured reserve list.
As funny as it sounds, I think that there's a great chance that Joel Embiid embarks on a new chapter with another team. I don't know what that looks like. Obviously,
traded, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
What do the Mavs even have to?
I guess that would be if Anthony Davis wants out,
or Kyrie or Clay.
Yeah, I mean, you would have to get big after that point. But yeah, so yeah, that's where I put the Philadelphia 76ers because again, I understand this season's over. I get that, but you did well in the draft pick, so that's good. What do you do with the rest? you know. Paul George that contract looks like it could be one of the worst in the NBA. Next to the guy who may never play again, if that's the truth for him.
That's one of those guys that I can just proudly say I never believed in, even though, he obviously was pretty good for a while. I'm like, I don't think you're ever going to win with Paul George. And now I can just say that's probably true.
I think that is
him on the
fair
Clippers.
Criticism.
Part of it was the Clippers, and part of it was him.
I think that's a fair criticism of Paul George since he turned 30.
Okay.
I think that Paul George, as a young player, I get why why kids these days call him their favorite player. He was incredible.
I never got that vibe from him.
Oh my God. There's so many, dude. He's like the most popular NBA player for the recent generations to come in and say, I promise you, they say Paul George. And because it's smart, right? He's 6'8". He's a great shooter. He's very skillful with the dribble. He's very efficient with his dribble. He plays on and off ball. One of the best defenders in the league, especially before he broke his leg. He came back from that, played even better. But then I agree, there was a mental block with Paul George that eventually took place, and it really kept him from being one of the best players in basketball. And I agree with that. And
not his fault. Drafted to the Pacers, went to Oklahoma City, went to the Clippers, now with Philadelphia.
Well, but I would argue differently.
Not going to just monumentally, consistently positive franchise.
I would argue differently. I think he did perfect in the Pacers. Gave them exactly what they wanted. Then they faded out and he dipped.
That's what I'm saying. Is it's not necessarily on him. He's just in situations where he wasn't maximized.
Russ, and Carmelo absolutely underutilized their time together. And maybe it was the coaching, whatever.
That's the Thunder's MO, baby.
Those three guys should always feel very regretful for not winning at least that first series against the famous Dame shot. I called that famous shot. It was a bad shot. Well, I made it, Doesn't matter, right? I think that was the moment really for Paul George's career where it changed drastically.
Yeah, I don't know. I think my apathy towards him comes from him just playing in Indiana for 8 years. That's probably what it is, if I'm being honest.
Well, he was a talented player, and obviously he might be the second best player, third best player in Clippers history. He was a big part of them getting to a Western Conference Finals. I mean, seriously, he was an incredible player. No, but he failed miserably in that 2020 final or playoffs, and then came back and was amazing for them when Kawhi was barely moving. So I don't want to undersell his career entirely, but at this point,
that's why I brought it up, so that you could sell it to me. So,
it's not perfect. I'll give you that. It is not perfect.
You're giving me a better vibe of him than I had in my head already. So,
but yeah, I mean, I do think that's the reality of how the general audience feels. Obviously, I think there's going to be certain audiences that don't feel that way. Pat Riley, Miami Heat. Is he still going to keep running the show? I think he actually made some solid moves post Jimmy, but this is a pretty middling team. Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo is your best player, is only going to go so far. All these stories are coming out where Dwayne Wade is now starting to leak. They're actually not even leaking. He's talking straight up to the microphone. And then now you saw Dan Le Batard is refuting Dwayne Wade. We have beef in Miami with the legends because now Dan Le Batard's standing up for Pat Riley. Yeah, there's some story about cookies on a plane and how Pat Riley would have eaten the cookies, not got mad at people.
Is Dwayne Wade lying about LeBron's cookies from the Le Batard show?
Oh yeah, it was the LeBron cookies, and Pat Riley didn't like it, and I think Le Batard refuted that.
Here's the tweet from Le Batard show's account. Dan has major sources from within the Miami Heat organization who are refuting Dwayne Wade's story. Interesting. I never thought of Le Batard as
or Mickey Arison, or what's the other guy? No, I love Dan Le Batard. I will not say a bad word about Dan Le Batard. At the same time, he is a mouthpiece for Pat Riley, and he has been for a long time.
I don't follow him well enough. I just like his show.
How did Wendy get to the top? We know.
LeBron.
He's never admitted it.
Stalking LeBron.
I don't think he stalked LeBron. I think him and LeBron intentionally have kept distance so that they could always have plausible deniability. But I do believe he's always been on the inside. The West. This one surprised me because I actually was really excited about the Clippers trade deadline. But in the time since, I have not seen a team that inspires confidence. I've seen James Harden seemingly feel like he's telling me what I need to know about the team with his effort, because it did not look like that to start season. And Kawhi does not look like exactly the same person. That's fair. He's much lighter now. That's interesting. I don't think it's a big deal, obviously, but it does make me wonder how much the Clippers will have to figure out a path with Kawhi in a more backseat of a role. I mean, and it feels like James is the answer, but if James's effort is as bad as it's been in the last few games, I don't know what you're going to do with that. Like, that just is a recipe for a disaster. And I don't know, maybe they're just running the clock out on the regular season.
We're good. Sorry.
Are the feds rating you?
No. I think the TV is just very loud outside, maybe.
Oh, that's fair.
But if you can't hear it, then we're good.
No, I can't hear it.
Okay.
So the Clippers actually really worry me, and because I really did like their deadline, and Norman Powell got injured and came back and I think rushed it. Maybe he's re-aggravated that situation. He had been having a career year. I think Ivica Zubac's a great regular season player, but he's really useless, especially when a guy like Luka gets on the court.
Kawhi is only 33.
Yeah, but knees of a 50-year-old.
I mean, yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. It's like it feels like he should be retiring soon.
And maybe he chooses that.
Which sucks.
I would hate that, but it would make sense with who he is. If he can't be Kawhi, then maybe he doesn't want to be about basketball like that. I could believe that.
Sad.
We'll see. We'll see. I mean, they've got time this season. Ty Lue's a great coach. They've got players. I have not loved what they've looked like since the deadline at all. It just looks really bad.
I've got hangups again on the Clippers, just being the Clippers. So,
and then there's that aspect of which I do feel is part of it. And this is their first season in the new beautiful arena, right? New era. I
just don't know if I don't know if you can win. I don't know how competitive you're going to be when your best two players are 35-year-old James Harden and 33/70-year-old Kawhi Leonard.
It is tough.
It's a lot of task in playoffs back to backs, but you know.
And your starting center is like one of the best regular season players in basketball frequently, but then as soon as he gets into the nitty gritty of X's and O's of the playoffs, he gets taken out pretty quick.
I don't know if this is true, but I read the other day someone said that at one of the Clippers games, there's like the cannons that shoot out from the top of that thing.
Mm-hmm.
That at least one game it was just plain white t-shirts, which I don't know if that's true or not, but that would be so funny. It's like we forgot to get some.
God damn it. I mean, Steve Ballmer has done better technically.
If I could get a free plain white t-shirt, that's worth me buying a ticket to the upper deck. Honestly, like
at least they're getting up there.
A pack, it's more than the nothing I get at most other games I go to.
Exactly. Yeah, Matt, who knows what one of the next teams we're gonna have to talk about says. But there's a team before we get to that one that I have to talk about. The Phoenix Suns. They are not currently completely imploded.
Okay.
But they are pretty damn close.
Vibes are bad.
Vibes are bad. The team's
it is not sunny in Phoenix.
No. We are having a lot of conversations about coaches buy-in. Oh my God, Mavericks got dusted tonight by the Bucks. By the way, we'll get to that in a second. I mean, yeah, I mean that's obvious, but damn, I'm just looking at the score. Sorry, I was trying to look for because there's one player in particular we need to talk about. Last night, the Suns came back in a big way and beat the Clippers, actually, who we just talked about, who had a great chance to redeem themselves and fell short. Kevin Durant played a good game. There was a moment there where he pulls his arm away from coach. That doesn't help the rumors. Bradley Beal only played 15 minutes in this game, and these Suns fans are now calling him the PTO man.
Paid time off?
Oh, yeah.
I haven't been fully keeping up. Weren't they trying to trade him? Or is he trying to get traded?
Trying.
Yeah.
But
because they can't trade.
What if I told you?
Is he the one with the no trade clause?
Yes. Him and LeBron James.
Yeah. Well, I meant on the Suns, but
naturally.
I think Giannis technically has one too. it's not written in
I don't think
anywhere.
only absolute
But
in
since
contract writing.
but since Nico's not his GM, he actually does have one. His team wouldn't do that without asking him. Actually,
So Colin Gillespie, that's the name we're going to talk about here. This is a recent thing, so don't get too excited. But if there's a formula for them, Bol has been somewhat useful. That helps.
Yeah.
Nick Richards has been a decent addition. That helps. Royce O'Neal, already a role player. Plumlee, already a role player. Tyus Jones, already a decent role player.
Just looks like the most generic human being.
But does he bring energy to a team that desperately needs it? He does. Can he keep this up long enough for them to steal? Where are they at in the standings? They've got to be 2 or 3, 4 games out of the 10th spot right now.
Was he in the Nuggets lineup last year when they actually won? He wasn't in the playoffs? Okay.
Nope. So Gillespie, he would have been a project.
He is listed as an NBA champion, so that's what I was asking.
Oh, then he must have been on. I guess he might have been on there.
Or he played enough games in the regular season.
He could have been on a 2-way deal at that point. Yeah, you're right. He probably could have been. So look, now he's getting real opportunity. They need serious point guard play. They need serious defense on the point guard side. He's delivering it. If they can keep that up, it helps. Big comeback last night is nice. They're still 3 of 7 in their last 10. They're chasing the Dallas Mavericks, who we'll get to. The Dallas Mavericks are about to be 32 and 31 in about 20 minutes or so. That would put the Suns at 29 and 33.
You don't think in the last 6 or 9 the Mavs can overcome a 30-point deficit?
I think that there's a very good chance that the Phoenix Suns could still sneak into the play-in and potentially do something. But it's not easy because they're, 3 games behind, and I guess they'll catch a game tonight maybe, but they still have to win games. So,
yeah, after tonight,
I believe they have a difficult
29
finish.
Games to go.
Yeah, but I do believe they have one of the more difficult schedules. So they have time. The Mavericks will get to have no advantage. So I will say there is a good chance that the Suns do it. I still think it ends in them probably getting bounced.
I'm sitting here watching the Mavs and Blazers like, come on, guys, just keep losing.
I do think that the Suns will have a good chance to get in. I don't know that this saves the Kevin Durant era.
No, he's not going to be satisfied with a play-in because the Mavericks traded the best player.
Not even just that. History. Not even just that. He's potentially going to get into the play-in, and then you could argue they could beat the Clippers, the Kings, and the Timberwolves to get themselves into a real series. And then maybe, who knows, they get paired with the fucking Rockets, and then all of a sudden they've won a playoff series on top of it. And then maybe we're having a different conversation, but that feels so hard.
It feels like even if they won the title, I don't think he's enjoyed his time there enough to want to come back.
Well, I think that one might change it, but yeah, that might be it at this point.
He might just be like, "Hey guys, we got it done. Let's move on."
And then we'll be looking at the offseason where Kevin Durant will be probably the most coveted player to change teams. And all 3 Texas teams will have some sort of logical path to bringing him on. I don't care about who you rank as best, but it's an interesting narrative to keep on the horizon.
Let Dallas or Houston do that, please. I love Kevin Durant, but I don't want to give up whatever the Suns are going to command.
I mean, that would be the conversation. I think it would be worth it for the Spurs to some extent, but I would have to see the price. Honestly, it's just Devin Vassell and some stuff. I could live with it. Or Devin Vassell and matching stuff.
It's also not 8 years ago, but you
got a little bit of a window if Wemby's fine. But there's also the Wemby aspect we don't know. Or the pop aspect of that we don't know. But we'll get to them. We have to eulogize a basketball team, a basketball franchise potentially. Kyrie Irving.
I think this pretty much epitomizes it.
Yeah.
The Cowboy hat guys, just right there.
Sad. Yeah. I mean, look. Kyrie Irving's out for the season. Reports are that Anthony Davis is likely going to consider sitting out for the rest of the season.
Not just out for the season, but obviously this is a lot. What we're doing right now is about the season, but Kyrie's not going to be back until
It does likely put.
January.
It also matters because it's also unlikely he declines his player option and signs a different deal unless the Mavs can come, unless they are truly partners. Then potentially there's a deal that could be made. But again, you would be making a deal with a player of that age and that injury history. So the Mavericks, that's a weird position for them. So it's potential that they just end up having to take on the $41 million he's owed next year and deal with it then. And then that limits what they're able to do maneuvering in the offseason.
Well, it's cool because they've got a bunch of first round picks for a bunch of years, right?
Yeah, they don't obviously own their picks, and we don't have to relitigate all the moves at this point. Caleb Martin's finally playing basketball soon. Did he play tonight? Did the Mavericks fans watch?
I'll look it up for you.
Yeah. So yeah, that's part of it. The question I have to ask you though, Patrick,
0 minutes.
My eulogy
So
is simple. Tonight. I am going to leave you with a famous quote or famous question. Is it better to have loved and have lost, or to have never loved at all? And what I mean by this is, would you rather be a Mavericks fan right now or a Hornets, Kings, Pelicans, Wizards fan?
No. But yeah, I would probably rather be a Mavericks fan just because historically they've at least been relevant. You still maybe top. It is a top 5 market, so at worst, someone will play here.
And you still have 2 guys that are going to be in the Hall of Fame on your roster most likely next year. I just don't know if you're getting them. I just don't know if you're getting them at their prime. I don't know what you're getting from it.
I don't know if you'll ever see either of them.
Three guys.
Especially if you'll see them on the court at the same time ever.
Yeah, So it's a little bit different, but yeah, I mean, it's a tough sell. And that was basically my question because I saw all the Mavericks. Obviously, the Mavericks have had an awful week, but then I saw a Hornets fan. I saw a Hornets fan basically be like, "No one ever cares when this happens to us." And then that's when this question popped into my head. And I'm like,
because you're
which side is truly the worst? No, because like I am one of the few people who's like, when something bad happens to another NBA franchise, I'm like, all right, but y'all could be the Hornets. Quit bitching. But Luka was such an extraordinary radical move and that it's hard for me to even take that position.
if I wanted to try to find a way to empathize to some degree, being a Vikings fan which is basically the most successful team to never win anything, it's not great, doesn't feel great. Versus you've got like Caesar, who's been a joke franchise forever, and then all of a sudden pulled off 2 in the last couple of years. Probably feels pretty cool.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's definitely an interesting feeling. I mean, you have to at least ask the question because I think it's easy to see the Mavs fans' pain.
It is, and obviously it's just so unique. It's so unique. What happened?
Yeah, it's the most unique thing I've probably ever seen in sports.
It's not a season. It's not a career-ending injury.
It's not an off-court thing.
If only Derrick Rose's knee didn't just completely give out, then who knows, And
it was classic like sports bravado that we usually don't find out about until like years later, and we got that tea instantly.
It's
he gave it to us. The man himself told us.
A lot of people will be like, I don't understand this from a PR decision, and I'm like, you guys know what these people are about. It's literally just scorched earth. Like, say whatever you want, do whatever you want. They don't feel shame. Like, what? They're not gonna. What do you think? Okay.
Nope.
No need to litigate.
They don't care. They don't care.
No need to litigate any of that.
Yeah. So that's the quick eulogy.
But it's fun to pile on.
And they're in the danger zone and not the better luck next year because, again, and you asked this question, I don't know what next year looks like. I don't know if there is a better luck next year. I don't know if next year is just as miserable. That's why the danger zone exists. It's because all of those teams may not want to look at the future. They may also just be as sad about the future as they are the present.
announcing your season ticket sales going up when everyone already hates you, and then 2 hours later, your other only star player that's currently playing, I guess.
Okay, so you get Lively suffers a stress fracture. This is all in this calendar year. Luka traded. AD plays 3 quarters, little under 4 quarters. Gafford sprained MCL. You dump Quentin Grimes. He scores 44 points. Jalen Brunson's named Player of the Week. That one felt unnecessary to put on here, but okay. Lakers moved to the 2 seed. That's tough. Ticket price
What's
increase.
Kristaps doing?
Kyrie Irving ACL. Yeah, I know. They didn't even think about mentioning that Kristaps is playing basketball really well right now.
Oh, man.
Oh, and then like I said in here, it's funny. I talk about Drew Holiday. I'm looking at a stat here where fucking Peyton Pritchard and Derek White combined for 84 points tonight.
How? Who did what?
The 19 of 33 from 3-point shooting. Is this all tonight?
From those two guys?
Yeah, same game. This is tonight. Let me get the full box score. Oh, it was the Trailblazers.
I just need to know what that split is between those two.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Derek
41 points, 43
points.
off the bench from Peyton Pritchard. 43 points in 43 minutes. Heat check God.
Is that Derek White's most points in a game? 41?
I think he actually has put up points. His shooting has been nuts since being in Boston.
He just doesn't always get. Google has it at 33 because it's not counting tonight.
Yeah, there you go. There it is.
If we can trust the.
And I would have to assume that's Peyton Pritchard's. Yeah. That's crazy.
Good job, Derek.
That's that Celtics team, man.
That's a guy I miss a lot as just a guy to have on your team.
Hey, Celtics probably only have a window or a year or two left of this, and they'll probably dump him over to San Antonio to retire.
He was on the championship team for them, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, he's a big.
Yeah, okay.
I would say he's honestly their third best or most important player.
Love him. Anyways,
yeah, the mid. This one's quick. This one's easy. This is actually more positive than good. The defense for the Pacers.
Definitely just by default define all these teams as mid. So
yeah, no, I mean
which honestly would be a boost for the Kings and the Hawks.
And the Pistons right now, right? This is a great news for the Pistons. They were the worst team in the history of sports last year, so this is great.
Interestingly enough, I'm going to see the Pistons for the second time this year in a couple weeks.
There might be a reason for that. That might actually have some correlation. Look, Pacers, their defense, I don't trust it. Halliburton's playing really well the last couple weeks. Still don't trust defense. Pistons, they're babies. And if they're not babies, they're a bunch of old guys like Tim Hardaway and Malik Beasley, and I'm trusting. Can't do it. Can't go there. The Hawks. Hey, this is where you guys fucking exist at, dude. You guys love this part of the world. This is where the Hawks thrive. Of course you're here.
How uncomfortable was it when they made the Eastern Conference Finals? we were all watching like, we're going to have to see Atlanta in the NBA Finals.
And it's all Ben Simmons' fault. It's crazy. The Toronto Raptors. They are potentially the most expensive mid team that will ever exist. And Brandon Ingram hasn't even played for them yet.
They still paying Kawhi?
No. So they have an interesting upside because they have Brandon Ingram to still pop into this equation at some point. Rockets, again, I respect the hustle. Your age is crap. Wolves.
Oh, I forgot we dumped Pearl onto them at like $20 million.
Oh yeah, no. What the Raptors love to do is overpay for above average players. That's what that is their bag. The Rockets, the Wolves. The Wolves, look, it's a gross roster makeup, and it hasn't been healthy for most of the season, so we don't have enough continuity to go on. Ant might be playing some of his best basketball at the same time.
The Wolves
There's
are
frustration.
The Wolves are just the cold Clippers. In my brain. Yeah. They'll be in the playoffs quite often.
But. Yeah, I mean, I do feel this is a weird team, and Julius Randle is already kind of a chaotic good, chaotic neutral type. So I don't know adding him.
Less than a year ago, we thought Mavs Wolves was going to be a long time rivalry in series, and both of those, not just, and this is one where it's not even just because of Luka. Both those teams don't seem to be.
Sports, well, I mean, they dumped Cat basically, right?
Yeah.
Just out of mostly payroll reasons.
It's okay. They got new owners coming in. Maybe they'll try harder.
Well, most people believe they're the ones who made that call. The Sacramento Kings. This is their sweet spot as well. They're basically the Western Conference Hawks at this point, but it's good because the Kings were also really bad for a while. So I think this is not.
They're always a nice warm up team in the first round for somebody.
Dude, and they're fun because they got guys like Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, guys go out there and get you some buckets. Yeah, it's a bonus. They get you buckets. They don't play defense. That's not what they're there for.
I do like DeRozan.
They're the bucket getters. Honestly, I want to rename them the Sacramento Bucket Getters. They're not the bucket stoppers.
Were they for like in Kansas City or something before Sacramento?
Yeah, they were the Kansas City. That's how they became the Kings because they were the Royals when they were in Rochester.
Okay.
I'm
trying to figure out why they would have been named.
Actually, I believe they were Kansas City Omaha.
So originally Kansas City Omaha for 3 years, then just Kansas City for 10 years, and Sacktown.
And then our final tier, which again doesn't need a lot of elaboration. The better luck next year, guys. Exactly. The Bulls. Maybe you could have argued they're mid, but I have a realization that they're not. They're actually quite young and quite like just taking advantage of the Eastern Conference being a shit show per usual. And this is their comfort zone.
24-38 is taking advantage of something.
Yes. When you can get away, and aren't they in the play-in?
Yeah, they are. You're right.
Exactly. That's getting away with a bullshit conference around you.
It's crazy how bad the Eastern Conference has literally been my entire life outside of LeBron James.
Very little moments.
Pretty much 1 year Kevin Garnett, 1 year. Yeah.
There's been very few moments and even those, there's usually monopolies in there. The Nets, solid team despite the talent. In fact, I think the fans are more like trying to get them to stop playing the good players at this point because they want to really sink that ship. Hornets, hey, this is where they exist. The Wizards, this is where they exist. We're in the capture the flag sweepstakes for those boys, right?
The Wizards' best chance of getting promoted out of whatever the bottom tier of the NBA was Gilbert Arenas. It just didn't work out. LeBron put him down. That was just the end of the whole franchise.
Well, they had John and Brad. John Wall had a hell of a career.
He was really good.
Injuries
took
him away.
The team
quickly.
was better than in the Arenas years, but
yeah. The Blazers, honestly, I think could have maybe stolen the Mavericks spot ahead of the Suns. Maybe still could, but probably won't. DeAndre Ayton, I believe, has a significant injury that probably will keep him in and out of the lineup at best. I think that's enough to bring them down a talent level, as we saw tonight from them giving up 40 points to two guys who don't usually score the ball like that. The Blazers are a talented young team. Capture the flag race is still on. The Spurs, you're playing see what you can get with the kids again.
Blazers aren't even listed in the top chances of getting a lottery pick right now at all.
Yeah,
they're 10th. Sorry,
they gotta do some losing.
I missed them.
They gotta do some losing, but yeah, the Spurs currently are their best chance to catch some ground there. The Pelicans are maybe a chance because Zion is back. Zion is looking amazing, but there's a lot of guys shut down for the Pelicans right now. Like they shut down DeJounte, I think Herb Jones. They've shut down a good chunk of that roster. So it's still skeleton. They traded Brandon Ingram, so you're still kind of skeleton crewing it there. But I'll take all the Zion minutes I can get, and I think Pelican fans will too.
I'm just trying to see here games. So last year he played the most games in his career at 70. This year he's at 24. Yeah.
Yeah, but he just got back. Yeah, this has only been about a week or so that he's been back. Basically, post All-Star.
Looking at his career, it's 24 games, 61 games, 29 games, 70 games. This year will be around 30.
Yeah, I mean it's been that way, but again, it's finishing on a good note, and he's finishing on an incredible note right now.
Is that what Anthony Davis has started like in New Orleans too?
I don't know if it was that
probably
bad.
A little more consistent.
Yeah, because he played quite a bit for them, but yeah, towards the end of it, you could tell that there was a bit of friction.
Yeah, way more consistent. He was definitely averaging around 70 a year.
And then the final team to talk about, Are the Jazz sneaky tanking for Vegas?
I haven't heard anything like that. And okay, so I think
Exactly. That's
the,
why
the
I'm putting it on the radar.
the argument that I keep hearing against when people say the Mavs owners are trying to get them to move to Vegas is that, and I don't know if this is true, so you can clear this up for me. Do the rest of the teams make more money from an expansion team? So are you thinking it's a deal where
So here,
like,
yeah, I think Mark Cuban spelled it out and then dipped, and that was the biggest sign. Yes, you make money off expansion fees, but you also cut the pie. Mark Cuban basically, when he sold the Mavericks, more or less felt like he was calling the NBA's bluff on actually finding a profitable way to sell two more teams to the NBA. The reason I have started to believe this is it's 2025. Adam Silver has now spent half a decade basically kicking around expansion. And yes, I understood that there was a major media deal that took a good chunk of that half decade to develop, and it was very important to the whole product even happening. But now that media deal is done, and we've still got basically no information. This summer will be the moment of truth. If we get nothing about expansion, I'm sure he'll be asked. He usually gets asked during the NBA finals, these kinds of questions. If he doesn't have a solidified answer, that tells me that the NBA doesn't think it's or the owners, whoever's the deciding vote here, does not think the NBA would be more successful with two more franchises than it would be to move two problem franchises. Because economically, yes, it's nice to get a payday, but if we can just make two of these teams more useful and put them in better markets, then we don't have to split the pie with the two extra ways. That's the only argument I would make. I'm not saying it's more likely. I'm saying that it's what I'm starting to I have suspicions of because of what's transpired.
okay, so here is CNBC as of last month, their list of NBA team valuations. If we wanted to guess who could be moved, you've got the Jazz, but they're only number 20. There are 10 teams valued below them. Now,
I have the Jazz for different reasons, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going purely financial here based off what CNBC.
No, that's important. I mean, obviously important.
The Spurs don't think they're going anywhere or underneath the Jazz.
Yeah, that's a special case.
Trailblazers, I also don't think are going anywhere.
No, special case, absolutely.
Especially since Seattle's gone.
Those are grandfathered in teams.
Orlando's not going anywhere, I don't think, anytime soon.
No, Disney partnership is too easy for that.
The Thunder, can't imagine.
They should, but it's already that ship's already sailed.
The Pistons, number 25, they're not going anywhere.
Oh, hell no.
The Pacers, number 26, likely not going anywhere.
No.
And this is where you get interesting, 27 through 30. So you got Charlotte at 27.
No, I think they'll always choose to keep.
They're just going to try to make Carolina happen.
No, I think that they just want to make that regional coverage up. And I think that they don't mind having a perennial bottom feeder.
Atlanta, Memphis, two Florida teams. That's not covering.
No, because you don't have the Carolinas. Carolinas are great basketball blood. You want
no pro
basketball. No pro. Yeah, but that's okay.
Oklahoma doesn't have a pro football
because
team.
Guess what? You can still just put a bunch of Dukies and North Carolina alum on a team and sell tickets.
Alabama doesn't have a pro football team.
No, and that's fair. But if you wanted to, you could just go take the Falcons and run it mediocre or below average and just put a bunch of SEC players on it and sell tickets.
Yeah. Okay, so 28 is going to be Pelicans.
Pelicans. If this happens, Pelicans go to Seattle, Jazz go to Vegas. That'd be my prediction.
Now, number 29, a team with brand new ownership, the Minnesota Timberwolves, in a state where teams are known to leave.
I would say that's fair. I would say it's not likely only because I believe
basketball team.
Well, good or bad, I believe the Minnesota ownership, the idiot, the asshole guy that sold it to the new idiot assholes, I believe that was one of the things that maybe even was a sticking point because he almost sold the team multiple times And every time someone threatened to move it, and he refused to sell. So I think that they had to go back into negotiations, not just because of money, because maybe they needed to get into contractual writing that the Timberwolves would not be moved.
Okay.
I do think
And
that happened.
then the least valuable team, according to CNBC, in the NBA is the Memphis Grizzlies.
That's tough, but I do think they keep Memphis as well. You keep Memphis because they are steadily one of the most dedicated fan bases, despite they're like Sacramento. They make up their own, they bring value to the NBA that you kind of can take an L on because we don't have as many.
I know it's years later. I know it's years later, but Seattle.
Well, no, I mean Seattle's amazing. I understand it's going to be a great. You have to get a team.
No,
in Seattle
I mean, there was a team in Seattle that had that.
Yeah, but that was also refusal to build an arena, and Memphis did not do that. Memphis built a big, beautiful one.
What about moving Memphis just a little bit over to Nashville instead?
Because really, I think you need to look at arenas, and you need to look at contract deals with arenas. Now, that's probably the saving grace for Utah. They also have a smart ownership group, and I think that their ownership group is Utah-based people, like they're from Utah. So maybe that does aid greatly. But Pelicans fans, if relocation doesn't happen, goodbye to your team. And I'm so sorry to be the one to tell it to you.
Dang, they've got a young owner.
Yeah, he is young.
47.
Yep. And where is he from again? I forget. He was kind of notable when he got in.
He went to BYU for sure.
Yeah, so there you go. I mean, that does bode well. I thought that was something that was a positive for them.
Technically from Oregon. Oh, and he got the hockey team. So
yeah, so there you go. That makes it very easy to stay. But the Jazz do have a much bigger problem with their engagement, especially when they're in their down years. So can they quickly get it back? And can they quickly be one of those teams that the fan base is just as rabid as Memphis and Sacramento? Absolutely. But would it also make business sense to just relocate the team just down here?
I was upset when Memphis got to Memphis from Vancouver. So,
well, I mean, Vancouver is a beautiful city. I don't think it necessarily needed to be a basketball town, and maybe it was the wrong time, and that was why it failed. But and if you go back to Seattle, what are we going to Vancouver, Portland, and Seattle? We don't need that much basketball up there. So,
that's fair.
I think it's better to give Seattle their team back. Pelicans, I think we've tried so hard to make New Orleans happen. We've tried so hard.
I don't understand why that one doesn't work.
Ownership. They do it cheap. They don't put the money and resources they put into the Saints. And even the Saints have to deal with this problem, But at least the Saints get to spend money on players and shit. The Pelicans will, and honestly, they've been good with that. But the Pelicans' training facilities are bad. They don't give a shit about making them better. It was a big part of the Anthony Davis "That's All Folks" saga. And it seems to have continued into the saga with Zion. And who knows? Is it team? Is it player? But it's two different players now, right? And two guys who might go into the Hall of Fame after their Pelicans playing careers, depending on how Zion's future goes. Now, I hope they hold on to him, especially if you're going to Seattle. But it's just one of those things. Yeah, I mean, that wraps it up for me. But I hear the trepidation. I still hope for expansion. I fear that the reality is that they have figured out that the money isn't going to work, and now they're going to have to figure out how to move these teams to the locations.
I don't mind not getting more teams because I think they already have a bit of an issue with talent disparity. So I don't know that gets better by adding more teams.
Well, I think the talent thing is positive. I think right now the NBA is still as deep as possible, and every team could sort of be taking one good player away and still survive to some extent.
And maybe it is just the way basketball works, that it just feels easier early on in the season to be like, here's 5 teams that could actually contend this year, versus it takes longer in other sports to really weed that out when you're watching.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. No, so I mean... Yeah. It'll always be a top-heavy sport. I don't know that anything can change that, because there is a lot of basketball, I think, more than other sports, lends to natural athleticism. And I think more often than not, great NBA players, or even really good NBA players, are not as passionate about the sport they play as some of the other ones in especially football, right? Football, and pro football especially, it's a lot of douchebags that maybe the skill positions are not that,
I don't
but
know.
a lot of the football players by majority are kind of grimy motherfuckers, right?
I would
Like,
just
it's
think a
by
lot of those.
nature.
I think there's not a lot of those guys, or I think there's a decent percentage of those guys who are like, I don't love this, but this was just the best route for me to make the most money possible, kind of
Yes,
thing.
but I
Yeah.
mean, but to actually get into the spirit of playing, I think for football players, you
Okay.
have to be able
Okay.
to get into that
Oh
mode
yeah, or else you're gonna
to
get
play
murdered.
football.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Same with hockey for sure.
in
Yeah.
hockey, yeah, and I think baseball maybe it's different,
Any
but
game with
then
active hitting is obviously gonna be a little
yeah.
different. Yeah.
So I just think that that's the thing that basketball lends itself to where LeBron's and those guys can stand out more, even
And
though
just you're talking about percentage of the game they control and time of the game they control, just
yeah,
higher in basketball for
exactly,
sure. So
exactly. All right,
all
well,
right.
what do
That's
we
a
have? We're good. Yeah, we've done it. We've completed it. The eulogy is good for the Mavericks. We've talked the hoops. We maybe have Caesar.
I haven't seen anything or heard
He said he
anything.
might get home around 3:53 or 3:30,
Oh,
9:35.
9:35. Okay, so we'll do a small break here. So this is gonna
And then
end
we'll
now. And
blow
then
through the other stuff, and hopefully
there
he jumps
could
in
be
for
something
Packer talk.
else. So one sec.